We're gonna call Claremont first. Counselor has a celebratory evening ahead of him, I think. I don't know about that. Just kidding.
Can we define that?
Welcome, everybody, to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Today, Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. I'm acting as chair tonight. I'm the vice chair, Brian Riddell. To my left is Board Member Franco, Board Member Chim, Board Member Barry, Board Member O'Brien, our clerk, Miss Griffin, and we have from Inspectional Services the Chief Building Inspector, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you go by? Jim Anderson.
King.
Make a motion to waive the reading of the previous minutes.
Motion to waive the reading of the minutes?
Second,
Second.
from the previous meeting.
Yes, correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. For anybody who's going to be testifying tonight, could you please stand and take an oath, please?
Please raise your right hand, swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matters known.
First up, we're gonna go a little bit out of order to help out some counselor here who has another engagement to go to. But in ZBA 24-60, is there attorney or representative here? Attorney John Lyons? Can you just come forward? I just want to ask you a question before I'm not going to call your case right now, but so the board has 7 members that are available. We only have 5 tonight. 2 of those members reside on Bellevue Road. We wanted to make you aware of it if you wanted to move forward, even though those 2 members reside on the road, or do you want to push to a later date? Okay, all right. So we'll call you up when it's ready. Thank you. First case we're going to call ZBA 24-79 Everate Properties LLC for a variance to subdivide the parcel, construct a 2-family dwelling on one parcel while retaining the existing 5-unit structure on the second parcel, the premise number 23 Claremont Ave, Quincy. Is there a representative here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, for the record, my name is Edward Fleming. I'm here on behalf of Everate Properties LLC and Elizabeth Wong, its manager. The property, as you indicated, is 23 Claremont Street in the city. I'm joined by Elizabeth, but also by Mark Sullivan, who's the architect from Chu and Company. And Mark will go through the architectural plans in a moment. And Chi Mann, and then the engineer from Hardy Mann Associates. And Chi will go through the site-related plans in a moment as well. As I indicated, the applicant before you tonight is Elizabeth Wong, who's the manager of Everate Properties LLC. She owns the property and has owned the property for a little bit. The property is a very unusually shaped parcel of land. It's consisting of 11,340 square feet, located in a Residence B zoning district. In addition to the unusual shape of the parcel, it's got, I would say, pretty unusual conditions, certainly in relation to other homes in the neighborhood. You can see the site plan on the site context plan that's up before you tonight. It's highlighted in red. Shown as the locus is 23 Claremont Ave. Right now, it consists of an existing 5-unit building, all single studio-style units, occupied by single individual tenants in each unit. And then the remaining portion of the site, which actually has access off South Street, is just a paved parking lot. It's a large paved parking lot, and it's accessible from South Street. Although the parking is rarely used, and you can see from this image, I think there's two vehicles in the lot as it stands there today. The proposal that's before you tonight is actually to maintain the existing 5-family building, to subdivide the lot essentially in the middle of the lot, creating 2 new parcels of land. which will include on one parcel, parcel A will be the 5-unit building with a new parking area that will be created, that she will talk about in more detail in a moment. And also construct a new 2-family house that will front on South Street. That use of the site is allowed in the Business P zoning district. And it will essentially create a lot that's much more in conformity with the houses that are in the area. As you can see, the rest of the homes in the area, which are identified on this plan, are shown as 2- and 3-unit buildings. That new 2-family structure will really fit well within the neighborhood, and really complement the site. Right now, the site really stands out like a sore thumb with this big parking lot that sits there, paved parking lot that has no drainage control measures at all. The new parking lot that's going to be created for the 5-family house or parcel will include 7 cars, which is actually 1 more car than is provided in the lot as it sits today. And the new 2-family, which will be 2 stories in height, will provide garage parking underneath each of the units, providing 2 spaces for each new unit. And we'll show those plans in more detail as we go through this process. We are seeking to move this matter forward, dimensional relief from a number of different dimensional requirements of the ordinance. As I indicated, this is in a Residence B zoning district. And so we're seeking lot size, dimensional relief to allow the creation of 2 separate lots at 6613 and 4727. We're also asking for FAR relief of 1.12 for the secondary parcel, which is on the smaller parcel of 4,727 square foot parcel. And by the way, these new parcels that are being created are very consistent with the other parcels in the neighborhood. They're incredible. They're very consistent with all these 2- and 3-family structures that sit within the neighborhood. And we're also asking for setback relief as well as parking relief. We had an opportunity through the Councilor Ash to have a neighborhood meeting. I know some of the neighbors are here tonight. I thought it was a nice neighborhood meeting. We were able to answer some questions that the neighbors raised. And one of the things that we concentrated on when we created this new subdivided lot is to create 1 driveway that will service both properties. And the reason we did that is because there's a lot of on-street parking that occurs in the neighborhood, and we didn't want to impact or offset the neighborhood parking. So we created only 1 driveway off Claremont Street, which will actually be a shared driveway, which will provide access to the new parking lot for the 5-unit building, as well as the garage parking for the 2-family. Overall, we think it's a good proposal. We think it fits well within the neighborhood. It creates new housing, ownership housing in the area. And we think this was generally well received. We would certainly hear for any questions that the board may have. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn this over to Chi Mann and have Chi just kind of talk about the site plan in a little bit more detail, and then we'll ask Mark to make some presentation of the architectural plans. Thank you. Chi?
Yeah, it has to, because they're gonna drop that line there.
Good evening. And for the record, my name is Chi Mann from Hardyman Design Group. I'm the registered civil engineer working on this project. So we go right to the site plan. So the entire lot is a irregular shaped parcel of buildings which has frontage over in South Street, Claremont, and overturned corner also in Claremont Street. A very long frontage. What we are proposing is to separate the lot into 2 parcels. The subdivision line is where the dash line, where the edge of the parking area. There's an existing curb cut on South Street. We are proposing to close that and put in ADA accessible sidewalk in front of the lot. And we are proposing to open up a new curb cut on Claremont Street. And that's going to be a common driveway to serve both lots. And we are with the client will will create an easement, share use easement for that curb cut. So the 5-unit building can come in with the driveway and get access to the 7 parking, and also the proposed 2-family will have garage parking. They can come in the same driveway and get into the garage parking. The site will be serviced by city water, the sewer system, and we don't really have any close by drainage pipe nearby, so we did some test pit on site, and we find sandy loam soil, but we also encounter very shallow refill, so we are not sure if it's big boulder or bedrock, but we designed a drainage system that we really low profile. It consists of 20 Caltech system. It's going to be installed under the parking lot. That is going to be taking on all the proposed new impervious drainage from the parking lot and also the 2 families building. And we managed to contain them on site and infiltrate on site. Is no impervious runoff will be running off into the Claremont Street. And the existing building pretty much will stay the same as the drainage pattern. And also other infrastructure will be tapping on the electrical and gas services from the public utility company. Yes. So you can see the dashed line, that is the Caltech system underneath the parking lot. And all the stormwater will be treated by water quality unit before infiltration. So the design is going to meet all the state and city stormwater regulations. If there's any questions, I will let Mark go over the architecture so we can answer more questions. If there is.
Thanks, Chi. Mark Sullivan from Chu & Company here in Quincy. Just to quickly go back. This is the existing site as it looks today. On the right, the photo on the top there, and then to get an idea of what this proposal will look like, which I'll get into in a second. So we are proposing a townhouse style 2-family, basically one side being mirrored on the other. We're taking cues from kind of the surrounding neighborhood context. There's a mixture of roof typologies with the one across Claremont Street being a flat roof. Most of the other ones are gable roofs, so we're kind of doing a gable roof with a dormer on the top, and creating these bays to kind of further break down or accentuate the massing. So just kind of revisiting the site plan, South Street being on the bottom here and Claremont Ave being on the right side. The new 2-family being on the bottom of the screen there. Both of them will have 2-car garages accessed from that shared parking area and accessed off of Claremont Ave. Taking a look at the ground floor, you can see that 2-car garage. So the frontage on South Street allowed us to create livable space on the front and stay within the context of the neighborhood and really continue that frontage along South Street that exists there today. Upper floor plan, it's just a living room, kitchen open concept plan, and then the top floor being the primary bedroom, secondary bedroom. So these are each 3-bedroom units, just under 2,000 square feet per unit, and then a couple of decks off of the front that sit on top of those bay areas. Then on the second floor, we also are proposing a couple cantilever decks off of the back, kind of over the garage space. This is taking a look on that front elevation, so the South Street. As mentioned, it's townhouse style layout, so essentially one side is mirrored on the other. We're utilizing kind of these larger double hung windows to be to relate to the neighboring houses that use the same window style. Those bays with fiber cement paneling, fiber cement lap siding for most of the main body of the mass. And then kind of further breaking that down by using a mixture of exposures for that lap siding, so a 7-inch exposure on the ground floor separating it from the middle of the mast, which is a 4-inch exposure lap siding, and then the top being that shed dormer within that gable roof typology. This is taking a look at the rear elevation, so this is facing that parking area that's in between the existing 5-family and obviously this new 2-family. A couple of access doors into the garage, both vehicle access as well as pedestrian access for the unit owners right there. Those decks being up above, and then the same similar window typology as the rest of the building. These are the two sides, exact same. So one of these sides, the one on your left of the screen here, faces Claremont. The other one would face the neighboring property to the left on South Street. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wanted to go back real quick. I just wanted to highlight a couple things, and again, just to highlight exactly what I had talked about before. We tried to maintain just and utilize just one curb cut because all the on-street parking that occurs. A number of the neighbors had indicated to us that most people don't have adequate parking for their own house, so a lot of people park in the street. So we didn't wanna create any more than one curb cut, and hence why we did this shared curb cut. And we're actually closing the curb cut on South Street, so we're creating some ability to park on South Street as well as vehicles that park along Claremont as well. We looked at other options about the idea of putting in a driveway for the existing 5-family on the front on Claremont, but we were concerned that that was just gonna create another curb cut and eliminate a lot of on-street parking that would really impact, less so that this particular proposal, but the neighbors, in that they'd have less parking available. We're very confident, actually, that this is gonna provide more than adequate parking. As I indicated, all the units in the building are all single units. They're all studio units. Small one-bedroom units, and they're all occupied by a single user. We've analyzed the parking that's existing right now, and it really hasn't been utilized fully. But we're providing the same, and actually one additional space in that same area, and actually even closer to the house. So we think it will be well utilized, and it will actually prevent any kind of impact on the neighbors for this new use. So that's our presentation. And any questions you board may have? Thank you.
I have questions.
Okay.
May I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you address landscaping, snow removal, and whether you're gonna have a dumpster on site or you're gonna do trash barrel?
No, they're gonna be trash barrels, and they'll be housed within the garages, and there's also, I think, a trash barrel in behind the 5-family that's utilized by the 5-family now, and they'll all be rolled out into Claremont for pickup. As far as snow removal, there's some snow storage area available in the park, in the grass areas that exist today, and in these areas as well. We think there's actually more than sufficient space for the snow removal. In the event that there was more snow that couldn't be adequately stored on the property, the new condominium association that will house those 2 units will have provisions within the ordinance or their condo bylaws that will require that it be removed off-site.
And could you address fencing and landscaping?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any fencing proposed, is there? Yeah. There's no fencing proposed right now.
Is the existing fence that's on Office South Street, is that staying? Is that yours?
I think it's the neighbors.
Okay.
That's neighboring the single family next to us. That's the neighbors.
Yeah, I think the fence along here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that might be the neighbors, we're not sure. But that will remain, certainly won't be impacted by us. As far as landscaping goes, a landscaping contractor will be retained to fully landscape the site. Obviously, these are gonna be for sale condominiums, and Elizabeth wants to certainly beautify them to the point where they're gonna be, marketable. As of right now, we had anticipated a lot of grass as well. However, there will be some landscaping plantings. We don't have that designed yet, but we can certainly agree to a condition that there be a professional landscape architect.
Last question is the lighting, parking lot lighting and reflection into the neighbor's
Do we have
location.
any lighting? How's the lighting gonna be handled just on the building itself?
It's the building lighting, basically.
You have, yeah. So I anticipate that, that there's just gonna be lighting in the back of the garages that will adequately light this area.
maybe some lighting of the existing, the back of the existing? Would that make sense for you?
Back of the existing five-family, yeah, if necessary. I believe that there's a doorway in the,
Yeah,
at
there's
the
already
rear.
existing lighting for the back of the building.
Okay, thank you.
So that will be reviewed and approved if it can shed some light in those parking spaces if
Thank you.
necessary. Sure.
Ms. Barry?
The townhouses to me look like 4-bedroom units. You have an office with a full bath on the first floor. What is the need for a full bath in the offices?
Working with the client, I think we thought that it would be a benefit to have an office-type space, especially being in a 3-unit. The intent is definitely not bedroom-wise. They're relatively small. I think they're only about like 8 feet wide. And they don't have a closet within them, making them not a bedroom either way. But the intent was that typically when we see a condo building that has 3 bedrooms, there likes to be some sort of breakout space.
They're actually 10 feet wide.
Is 10 feet including, I'm sorry, 10 feet wide, so they are.
Plus a bump out.
Yeah, plus the
So
bumper,
those
so
are
we
pretty good
made them a
sized
little bit
rooms.
wider, but still the intent of them was specifically for office use. We specifically put them on the ground floor to be away necessarily from that living space or other space, as more of, we saw it as a workspace for the actual owner of the condo. As mentioned, we didn't put any closet in there, but
Why
it's just our
is there a
intent.
full bath?
In terms of the full bathroom, I mean, in terms of what the client wanted, we essentially put the bathroom down there just as a service for that workspace, to climb up a stair. It's a larger size condo unit, a townhouse unit, so having that extra bathroom just as a utility for that office space, but it wasn't seen as necessarily a bedroom for the unit, at least in my understanding,
Okay.
what they wanted.
It's 3 bedrooms. Yeah, I
Yeah.
see it the same way. 4 bedroom, it's 4 bed, 3.5 bath.
Yeah. This reads to me like a 4-bed, 3.5 bath, 2 parking spaces
Yeah.
for only, in essence, 4 bedrooms.
Mr.
Yeah.
O'Brien?
No, I agree, that's one of my concerns, was full baths, and it could be a office now, but eventually without.
So you'd feel more
without doors.
comfortable if that were redesigned to be just a half bath, to provide so that it's not utilized as a bedroom? It would just be a half bathroom. I think it's nice to have a half bathroom, certainly downstairs.
half
I
bathroom.
mean, most people now are working from home, so having that access to a half bath.
I think the garages are tight. They're only 20 feet wide. A standard parking space is 10. So these are supposed to be these are intended to be condos. People tend to have skis, bikes, golf clubs, lots of other things. So perhaps the office could be made smaller since it's only going to be an office. So there'd be more storage for other items in the garage. Because 20 feet wide is very tight. There's really no additional storage in the garage for other items typically stored in the garage. So maybe coming back with a smaller office, so it truly is an office,
Sure.
would look better.
Yeah, and we can definitely look into doing it as a half bathroom, one, to eliminate the concern of that. And then, yes, we will look at maybe decreasing the size of the office to allow for more storage. We are providing storage underneath the stair and kind of off to the side, but I understand your concern, so we can definitely look at that.
Those are my comments.
Good.
Mr. Frankel? Anyone opposed or undecided? Counselor, do you want to speak first, or do you want to let the?
I have you can open it up.
Okay. Opposed or undecided?
In favor.
Oh,
In favor first?
in favor first? What's the matter?
Write that down.
Yeah.
I'm reporting you.
You can take over the seat. Anyone want to speak in favor? First call.
Hello, my name is Charbel Mata. I actually live right directly across the street from there, and
What's your address?
32 Lawrence Street. The congestion that's going to actually come with that being built there is going to like significantly impact us as well in the height, and
Are you opposed or in favor? Sorry.
I'm opposed.
Sorry, I called the wrong.
Oh.
Sorry. Those that would like to speak in favor first, sorry. It's been a long day. First call. Second call. We have 33 letters of support before I close it. Do you want to read the letter?
I'm gonna read one letter, there's 33 of these. December 3rd, 2024, Mr. Marty Akins, Chairman, members of the board, Quincy Zoning Board, raised ZBA case 24-79, 23 Claremont Ave, Quincy, Mass. 02169. Dear Mr. Martin Akins, Chairman and members of the board, please accept this letter as my full support of Everett Properties LLC's proposal to construct 2 new townhouses at 23 Claremont Ave, Quincy, Mass. 02169. I believe this project is thoughtfully designed and will enhance the aesthetic appeal of our neighborhood, contributing both greater value and a positive long-term impact on our neighborhood. I'm confident that this new building will be a welcomed addition to the area. Thank you sincerely.
33. We'll put the names and addresses in the record, the formal record, but there's 33 letters signed off on that, or 33 names signed off on that. Third call. Anyone in favor? Third call. Call that part of the hearing closed. DPW, have any comments? I got wind again, Charlie. Don't worry.
2, Martin Akins, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals, from Cheng Sang, Civil Engineer, November 23rd, 23 Claremont Ave, ZBA 24-79. We have reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. 1, install a curb stop valve and box on the sidewalk. Install a clean out for the sewer service pipe. If a chimney connection is proposed on the sewer main, a clean out on the road surface should be installed. It looks like the proposed contours will collect water to the front of the proposed duplex. Upon completion of the project, as-built plans showing all utilities and building footprints need to be submitted along with a digital file. Further information is required, please advise.
Thank you. Set the record. Before we go to opposed or undecided, does anybody have a Lincoln Navigator parked out back?
That's me.
That's you? You gotta go move it. We'll take a 5-minute recess. No, the solicitor can't get in his car. Do you have your keys?
Yeah.
Take a 5-minute
He has a
recess, sorry.
magic wand.
Yeah, we don't mess with the solicitor's office.
Came out, you're too close. Honestly, it's so dark tonight. I think Quincy Shore Drive, you can't even see the water. I mean, it's like a black abyss.
Thank you for your patience. For those opposed or undecided. Now we can, yeah. Sorry about that false alarm there.
Good evening, folks. My name is John Mayo. I live at 16 Claremont Avenue And by the way, that is Claremont Avenue. It's continually referred to as Claremont Street, but that's no big deal. But my problem is mainly the parking in the area. When they talk about what's there now at 23 Claremont Ave, there are, I think, 7 or 8 parking spots in the back of that now. I don't think I've ever seen more than 2 cars there. And I think it's the same with most apartment buildings that go up. If you look at the Watson outside the shipyard, they've got beautiful building they've put up with all sorts of residents in there and parking garage underneath and everything. Look on the street in front of there. Everyone parks on the street. I think everyone wants to get out and get in the car and go. And behind me on Lawrence Street at 16, there is also an apartment building, and I would say the same thing about that. Now we're gonna talk about putting what is there now that they do not park in the park, they park on the street. And now we're gonna add housing that's gonna add more parking. If any of you have not been down in our general area there on a Friday afternoon, I suggest you might wanna try that. The mosque holds services, I don't begrudge them that. They hold services on Friday afternoon from 1 to 2 o'clock. So from about anywhere from 12 to 3. God forbid we should ever have a fire down there, because there is no way a fire engine could ever get down those streets. That's a fact. The question also the height of the new buildings that are going in, and I question the congested area, the layout on the lots. I think they're not correct according to size or whatever. I'm not familiar with that type of terminology, what I'm supposed to use there. But mainly, that's my area with the thing. And overall, I've lived there since 1965, so I speak as someone who knows what the parking is like. You've got people that have 3, 4 cars, 5 cars, and everyone wants to park on the street. We're just gonna add another, 8 or 10 more cars out on the street. There's no place to put them now. I'm sure that's the hue and cry all over the city, but those are facts. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I agree, pretty much he summed it up all.
Do you want to just say your name and address for the record again? And
Yeah, no problem. Is it the right time now?
Yeah.
You sure?
No, my name is Charbel Mata, and I'm at 32 Lawrence Street.
Thank you.
And I'm opposed to it, so,
Thank you.
thanks.
Second call, Counselor.
Good evening, Chair. Richard Ash, 7 Silver Street, Ward 2 City Councilor. I had a community meeting on this, I believe it was back the beginning of September. The resident, Mr. Mayo, that you just heard from, attended and voiced some of the similar concerns. I defer to your expertise on the majority of the issues. Member Barry, I appreciate the note of kind of the parking issue. The parking in the area, as you just heard, is hard and tough to deal with at times. I would suggest that just the size of the units at 2,000 square feet each, they certainly look a little more dense than 2-bedroom condos, or maybe they were put down as 3. The general size, and I think that I don't live there, so this is just my personal opinion. I think the decks are a little out of place, but it is an undeveloped lot. I'm sure something nice could go there. This might be a little too big for the neighborhood and create a little bit too much congestion, but I'm sure something can be worked on, and that the proposal, it looks beautiful, it's just might be a little too big for that area. So I appreciate the time. Look forward to working with the property owners and developers. They seem to be pretty amenable to some of these issues, so thank you.
Thank you. Second call, third call, call that part of the hearing closed. Anyone comments? You guys have anything to share? I mean, I'd say, we talk about this all the time, making 2 non-conforming lots now, instead of, 1 conforming lot. Just kind of always irks me. I don't like the easement for the parking on it. That kind of really bothers me. It just doesn't, over time, when it's a condo association, who's gonna care for the additional spots and the apartment building? And then the sheer size of it, I have a challenge with. Thoughts?
Yeah, I have a problem with the size of it. I'm concerned about the parking and obviously the downstairs office, bathroom, bedroom, whatever you want to refer to it at, which discussed addressing, are problematic for me. I just think it's really big. And maybe it's the rendering that looks so huge, which is sort of oxymoronic, but it's just looks giant. When I drove down there, it's like, it's gonna be big.
I just noticed the setbacks. I couldn't read the number, but it looks like only 3 feet.
On the
5
rear.
feet on one side,
5 and 6.
6 and 7 on the other, so for new construction, I would prefer to see something a little bit closer to what's approvable. Conceptually, I think it's okay to have this kind of building there. I think it's well-designed in terms of the visual look. I think it looks nice.
Yes, great.
But I do agree with my sister that the bathroom should be reduced on the garage level.
I'd like to see the new proposed condo building shrunk down and the first floor to be a true office with perhaps a half bath, significantly smaller than the current size. And again, to Councilor Chin's comment, the setbacks are too small as proposed.
My only comment is with the traffic, we can't enforce it. All that we can do is, abide by the existing regulations. If the parking's available, that's different from us actually going out there and telling them you can't park on the street. That's a policing issue. So what we try to do is we try to get as close to compliance as we can. And then hopefully that's enough for what's being proposed in there. My other comment is, I don't know what could be put on that lot instead of to break it up the way it is now. If it remains as one, where could you get in there?
Well, that's right, I was wondering that myself.
Yeah.
What's the potential, if you didn't break it up,
How big could you get?
how big could you get? What's the alternative? I always look at that myself, cause I think sometimes the wish for,
Right.
this is too big, and you turn around and you get, it's 6 units there, anyways, at twice the size of a building.
Just add on to the back
Just
end
add on to
instead
the
of
back,
breaking it
yeah.
out, so.
I thought that myself, I don't know what it would break out to when you add it in, cause a corner lot always makes that, I can never figure out the metrics with the corner lot.
That might be something, a consideration that, if they could make this smaller to make it more acceptable. The height's within the limits of the regulation, so
Yeah.
that's not gonna go away.
Would we rather see it pushed away from the other property line? Does that make any difference? I mean, that other house was kind of far off the left side, it's a tight, it's only 6 feet there, I think, or 5 feet on that left side setback.
There's no opposition from that neighbor to that. You're just creating the precedent of approving something brand new 5 feet off the line.
Yeah, that's what it was more, yeah. Counselor? I think a little bit back to the drawing board.
Yeah, we've heard your comments, and we can certainly come back with some revised plans. And yeah, I think your comment about too, what could go there otherwise, I mean, the goal was to try to create something that fit well within the neighborhood, as opposed to just a bigger building on the entire 11,000 square foot side. We think that this is a better fit, but we'll come back. We'll certainly address your comments on the lower level, but we'll try to maybe reduce the overall size of the building. The concern about reducing the size of the building too much and then expanding the setbacks is creating problems with the garage space.
I saw that
So,
myself.
so that's the only challenge that we have, but we'll do the best we can, and we'll try to come back with a revised plan.
Yeah, I saw the width, like, there's no other way you really, you're stuck on that width if you want the double
Right, I
garage.
think Member
Yeah.
Barry already mentioned there's only 20 feet width in the
Yeah.
garage spaces right now.
Well, perhaps you
so-
bring in the front third of the buildings, so you improve the setback on the front.
Right,
So perhaps you can jog in a little bit.
we'll work on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
28. That work for you? Enough time?
Yes.
Make a motion, that's
in the matter of Everett Properties LLC for variance to subdivide the parcel, construct a two-family dwelling on one parcel while retaining an existing 5-unit structure on the second parcel on the premises number 23 Claremont Ave, Quincy, ZBA 24-779, and by move.
January
We
20th.
do the first January.
That's our first in January is the 28th.
Oh, the 20th of January.
Sorry, yeah.
I thought you were talking about the 20th.
No, I'm gone too, man.
Merry Christmas.
Sorry, January 20, so we have a meeting in January that's already filled at this point for the 14th.
January 28th is
So it'd be
fine.
January 28th.
Hereby move this matter be extended to January 28th, 2025.
Sorry for the confusion, Council. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. What if they knock down the 5? That's what I'm saying. They can't by right.
How you doing? Thank you.
Thank you.
So then that's the point that you
These buildings look great, especially
Thanks.
public housing situation. For good-looking
In
buildings.
case you wanna.
Follow along.
ZBA 2454, Quincy Housing Authority for a variance and special permit to construct 2 8-unit residential buildings in the currently undeveloped lot for a total of 16 new affordable residential units on the premises currently numbered 0 Bicknell Street, Quincy. Applicant or their representative here.
Yes. James Marathis, Executive Director for the Quincy Housing Authority, representing Quincy Development Corporation tonight. Thank you, members of the board, for hearing this. This application has already been before the planning board and approved by the planning board. This is to construct 16 new affordable family units at the entrance to what is currently O'Brien Towers. Just to give you some quick background on this, about 4 years ago, O'Brien Towers, 73 Bicknell Street, was approved by the town as a roadway. That roadway was called the Leo Kelly Lane. The entrance to O'Brien Towers was turned into a roadway to create frontage for, back then, it was Neighborhood Works to construct the house that was built behind the house on the right side of O'Brien Towers. On the left side of O'Brien Towers, the vacant lot, which is approximately 17,277 square feet, we propose to put 2 4-story buildings containing 8 affordable housing units in it. These units will be affordable in perpetuity. There will be 2-bedroom units, and they will be, we'll be the owners of them. I got to back up just a little bit to give you a little history. Quincy Housing Authority has formed a nonprofit entity called Quincy Development Corporation. Quincy Development Corporation is in the process of purchasing all of the federal public housing from HUD to make it Section 8 housing rather than public housing. So the federal public housing goes away and it becomes project-based Section 8 housing. And instead of being owned by HUD, it'll be owned by Quincy Development Corporation under the control of Quincy Housing Authority. So the goal of the agency is to become a partner with the city of Quincy to develop affordable housing in the future, maintain affordable housing, and be able to sustain affordable housing in the city of Quincy for the future. Under the current recipe that we have, Quincy Housing Authority is unable to build any new affordable housing. We are restricted by HUD and we are restricted by the state. By moving these properties from HUD and from the federal government into the hands of Quincy Development Corporation, we are able to maintain our profit, maintain our own funding, and we're able to reinvest that money every year into creating new affordable housing in the city of Quincy. So this project would be the first project for Quincy Development Corporation. We will be hoping to partner with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to create these units. These units in perpetuity will just continue to give back to the city because the money from these units will just generate new units as things move forward. So that's the plan, that's the overall plan. I can run through this real quick with you. This is who we are. Quincy Development Corporation was formed under Quincy Housing Authority. Quincy Care's mission is to transform the lives of low-income families in the city of Quincy and partner with families to achieve economic independence and self-sufficiency by eliminating barriers towards upward mobility through housing and supportive services. Quincy Cares, these are some of the things that we do: career and educational counseling, asset development, community collaborations, family supports. Quincy Housing Authority, the actual housing authority itself, we have bridged off and become a much larger agency. We're more or less at this point really a housing management agency. We currently manage the town of Hingham, Hanson, Holbrook, Marshfield, Quincy Housing Authority, and now soon Quincy Development Corporation. So O'Brien Towers, which I'm sure you're all familiar with at 73 Bicknell Street, that is now owned by Quincy Development Corporation. Pagnano Towers, which is located out by the bridge, that also is currently owned by Quincy Development Corporation. In January, we will be closing on Riverview and purchasing Riverview and the fire station. That will come into the hands of Quincy Development Corporation. Later in 2025, we will be closing on Drowan Apartments, and that will be the end of federal public housing in the city of Quincy. And it will now all be Section 8 project-based housing. So currently, as you know, there's no shortage of waiting list. This is just for the federal and state families. I'll tell you more about the waiting list in the future. Quincy Development Corporation, as I said, we already own O'Brien Towers. We already own now at this point Pagnano Towers. And Riverview is in the process of being converted. It should close in January or February. And then Drowan Apartments will be last. Mariners Cove is projected to be a $5 to $6 million project. 16 new two-bedroom units. We are not doing any space in the basement. We eliminated that. And the profits will preserve and create affordable housing in the future for the city of Quincy. We hope to have the project in the ground in the spring of '25, and we anticipate 18 to 24 months to complete the project. The relief that we're looking for is variance for front setback, required 25 feet. We propose 18 feet. On the left side, from 25 feet, we propose 18 feet. On the variance for the parking setback, it's against our own property. It's against Taffrail Road, which is our own property. We propose 2.1 feet. The unique thing about this property is all the infrastructure is there. The bus stop is there. We propose to create a walkway to go through into Snug Harbor, where we have the brand new water park, we have the brand new tennis courts, we have all the amenities for the kids, as well as we have the Snug Harbor School, the library. I mean, you have the YMCA down there. The site is perfect for affordable housing for a family down there. These are the site plans. This is the location of the property that we're talking about. As you can see there, the entrance to O'Brien, and that's the new building on the right that was built by, that's the new building that was constructed as a result of creating Leo Kelly Lane, and we propose to put the two new buildings there on the right-hand side. So that's a closer look of the property. It's all flat. It's all out of the wetlands. We've done test pits, and the soil is great. And DeSalle and Burke have designed the drainage to catch all the drainage on site. That would be the parking. We have over 2 spaces per unit. Those would be the 2 buildings. They're virtually identical. There's decks on one side of the building. There's 2 units per floor. The units average a size of about 1,300 square feet. They're 2 bedrooms, 2 bath, living room, kitchen. There's the site plan with the landscaping. These are the building plans. MZO Architecture Group is the architect firm that designed the buildings. They are both elevated buildings. Here's the layout of the unit. When you walk into the unit, you have the living room there, open to the dining room with the kitchen. These will all be, this will be an electric building, so they'll all be high efficiency electric heat pumps, all with heating and air conditioning. These are just floor plans of the four plans, the roof plan, front elevation of the building, back elevation, left side, right side, cross section. We have met with the building department and we've gone over the building plans with them. They had some concerns at first, and we worked through those concerns with the building department, and I believe that they're satisfied. I don't want to speak for them, but I believe Jim is satisfied with the plans at this point after the changes. That's the elevator shafts. So there's what we have for a wait currently. We have 27,000 people on our state list. We have 12,000 people on our state elderly list. We have 1,456 federal applicants for elderly and family. So as you can see, the waiting list for affordable housing in the city of Quincy is incredible. Something that I don't think we will ever be able to satisfy, quite frankly. But this is the first attempt. The Housing Authority has not constructed a building since the 70s. This will be the first building that the Housing Authority has constructed for affordable housing in the city of Quincy since the 70s. And again, all of this was only possible by forming the new entity, Quincy Development Corporation.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Nope. Free and clear for now.
Let's hope.
No, I'm good. Nice
Okay.
presentation.
Yeah, no, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Welcome to
I,
Heather.
you know, in the many years that many of us have sat up here, all the building we approved, I think, you know, you constantly hear affordable, so I appreciate the creativity that you've showed and the city showed to try and, you know, solve that by pulling
Yep.
that out of the federal, because that obviously will yield more money into the Affordable Housing Trust, which will ultimately yield more projects like this. So
Right.
I appreciate the creativity.
Thank you.
Anyone want to speak in favor? Counselor, you want to come up?
Good evening, Dave McCarthy, 48 Whitney Road, Ward 1. I can't say enough about James Marathis and what he's done completely with the Housing Authority. I'm in full support. That piece of land, and I've worked closely with James, we've talked about it, and it's just another option that he proactively always pursues. And by coming up and discussing it with the mayor and the administration and the other officials about Quincy Cares and what they're trying to do with the Pagnano and Drowan complex that's in Councilor Devine's ward, you know, it was all positive things in regards to housing, which, as we can see, we desperately need. So James has done a great job, not only with this project, but across the board. Speaking of Ward 1, it's just tremendous what he's done down in that section of the city. And he's constantly coming up. He does not sit around. He's always on the move aggressively in a positive way. So he's got my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
And Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor?
James Devine, 117 Cross Street, Ward 4 Councilor. Sorry for my attire. My boss kept me late. I couldn't get home showering. These are all great things. You know, we need it. It's very good for people. And it looks exciting. So 1970 something I heard was the last time. I was born in 1971, so it sounds like it's a long time coming, and hopefully it keeps going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Second call, third call that part of the hearing closed. Anything from the DPW? We have reviewed and provided comments for this project to the planning board. All the comments we provided have been addressed properly. We do not have any further comments for the zoning board at this time. Any opposed or undecided? Name and address for the record, please.
It's Susan Clark Lynn, 90 Bicknell Street.
Thank you.
My biggest concern is the traffic that it will create. Cars are coming out of there, there is a stop sign, people don't stop coming onto Bicknell. I just, there was a school bus coming out of there yesterday morning when I was leaving for work at 7:15. It just pulled right out onto Bicknell, and there'll be that much more traffic coming out. That's my biggest concern is, you know, people not adhering to the stop sign coming out.
I appreciate the comments.
That many more cars.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call. Third call. Call that part of the hearing closed. Any comments?
No, I'm good.
Just wanted to ask the proponent if there are any plans to address additional traffic.
Thank you. Just to answer the concern that you had, I too sometimes see people run stop signs, and you know, we've tried to do everything we could to increase the signage down there. We actually worked with the city to put up signs all the way around the Rotary where there never were signs, trying to address the issues of people violating the rules and regulations of the roadway. Certainly, I think we could help by putting up another stop sign at the end of which now is Leo Kelly Lane, and possibly even maybe speed bumps at the end of the roadway to caution people and make people stop before they enter out into Bicknell Street. I certainly don't think that 16 two-bedroom family units are going to increase the volume of traffic, given the fact that I mean, just us alone, we have over 1,100 units down there in Snug Harbor. I certainly don't think these 16 are going to be a critical impact on the parking, on the traffic.
Thank you. Anything else?
There is something that you might look at, see the city, they have, I've seen them, I don't know if there's any in the city, they have blinking red lights that are on the stop sign.
Yes.
Just to call their attention to it, maybe,
Sure.
that might be a benefit there,
Sure.
you could take a shot at. I'm sure the city traffic engineer would, you know, willingly take a look at that.
Council McCarthy's all over. I think, I appreciate your concerns, and I know it impacts you more than everyone else, you know. But dire need for additional housing, I'll be in favor.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor as well.
In favor.
Likewise.
ZBA 24-54, Quincy Housing Authority for a variance and special permit to construct two 8-unit residential building in a currently undeveloped lot for a total of 16 new affordable residential units on the premises currently numbered 8 Bicknell Street, Quincy. Hereby move that the proposal be approved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you for your work.
Thank you all very much, and I hope you have a great holiday.
Do you want these?
That's okay.
Those are for you? Okay.
Got wallpaper in the bathroom.
Circular.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ZBA 2460, Attorney John J. Lyons for a variance to demolish the existing structure down to the foundation, reconstruct a single-family home on the same foundation, increasing the size from 1.5 stories to 3 stories on the premise number 260 Bellevue. The applicant or their representative here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name's John Lyons. I'm an attorney with an office at 80 Copeland Street in Quincy. I signed the application, as attorneys and architects often do. I have no ownership interest in the project. The project is owned by 260 Bellevue LLC. Kyle Duguerre, one of the members of the LLC, is here tonight in order to testify. The other principals are family members. I've heard it asked, or I've seen it on social media. People wonder why attorneys and architects file these applications, or why LLCs are used. It's attorneys and architects do the filing because technical language may be required, and the LLC entity is used by most investors for limited liability purpose. There's no obfuscation. It's all a matter of public record, and if anyone has any questions about who actually owns it, Mr. Duguay, one of the owners, again, it's a family group, is with me here this evening. In addition, this evening, we have Mr. Matt Moa from Q Architects, who drew the plans, who's now getting the plans up on the screen. Go right ahead.
My apologies.
I can give you a little quick background before you look at the plan. This building is 260 Bellevue Road in the Squantum section of Quincy. It's a Residence A, single-family zone. The property, my understanding is, has been a troubled property for a number of years, to the point where it was boarded by the City of Quincy ISD. It was purchased by the current owner out of a foreclosure, and now they seek to tear down the existing structure and reconstruct a somewhat larger single-family using the same foundation. I can quickly run through the violations. Floor area ratio, there is none. The proposed is 0.61 for your information. The lot area required is 7,650. The existing is 5,900. Front yard, frontage rather, 85 feet. The existing is 71.77. The depth from the front yard is 25 feet. The code, the proposed is 22.1. Side yard requirement is 13 feet. Proposed is 4.4. That's on the Dean Street side. This was a corner lot on Bellevue and Dean. No open space requirement. 2.5 stories is allowed in this district. The proposed is 3 stories, and the reason it's counted as 3 stories is there is a proposed dormer in the rear measuring 29 feet. The reason for that dormer is to create headroom in a proposed master bedroom suite on the upper floor. The code requires 3 parking spaces. There are 3 provided in the plan. The height under the code is 35 feet. Proposed is 36 feet 2 inches. We've had discussions with the neighborhood. There was no formal abutters meeting because none was actually requested, but Mr. Duguay reached out to the direct abutters. I mean, all of the interested parties were notified as required, but there was an actual meeting of direct abutters. The major concern expressed was, though there were 2, at least that I'm aware of. One is the height, and I understand in this district, it's Squantum, it's a hill, it's all about views, particularly of the water. And I think you will see in some of the photographs that we have here that this proposal is really not out of character for what is in the neighborhood. It does reflect the context of the neighborhood. The other thing I will say with respect to height is that this height violation is not based on the grade at the front. It's based on sort of a moving average on a very steep lot. And it is, I think, a condition which may exist in other properties in the neighborhood. We didn't go around and take a survey, but when you look at the plans, you can see some measurements that were taken. The highest point of this ridge, when measured from the front lot line, is really only about 33 feet. We do have a technical violation of the code with which we do not disagree. But rather than discuss what is 14 inches, this is 14 inches, measured twice and then cut once, as they say. But again, I'm not intending to downplay the significance of height, particularly in this location. We're sensitive to that, but I believe when you look at the drawings and you look at some of the pictures of the context, you will see that this property is not out of character for the neighborhood, particularly since it's built into the slope of the height. And again, the reason for this height violation is not an attempt to build an opposing structure. It's an attempt to put sufficient headroom on the in the attic, in the dormer master bedroom. If you when you're utilizing the existing foundation, which again is built into a slope, you can't take anything off the foundation because we're gonna have water running in the front door. The only place to put room is on top of the existing foundation. If you take 14 inches off of a roof, you may say that that's, you know, why can't they do that? The reason they can't do it is you'd have to drop the ceiling height in that master bedroom to about 7 feet. I could fit in that, but a lot of people couldn't. I think most people couldn't. And as it stands, as it's designed, most of the rooms in that upper story actually have a sloped ceiling. It's only in the rear where the dormer is situated. If you look at that front elevation, I think there was an attempt made, a successful attempt by the architect, to design something that actually fits into the community. The gable roof, but then the dormer to the left is really just to admit light in. It's not looming over the streetscape. The height is in the rear. It's not visible from the street. The other concern which I referenced was the abutter in the rear was concerned about the potential loss of privacy with the construction of a proposed retaining wall in order to level some of the yard. That leveling is not going to be a tremendous height. I think it's somewhere between 4 and 6 feet. Because again, there's a limitation on how much leveling can be done there because there is a crawl space which needs to be accessed, and that door has to have swing. We did begin a conversation about some sort of a memorandum of understanding in which the developer stands by this. The abutter in the rear will be included in the placement of that wall, which will be 100% within the lot line, including the footing. The design of the wall, if it is poured concrete, that will not be left unfinished. It will be covered with some type of a veneer, or it might be an engineered block wall, which would have a rough surface. In addition, it would be designed in such a way as it would have to be to manage not only the hydrostatic pressure against the wall itself, but to manage the flow, the rainwater flow within the site, so as not to divert it onto an abutter's property or the way. So I think, again, given the context of the neighborhood, this property does fit in. Unfortunately, in these drawings, you can't see what's around it, but you will see some photographs in a moment. There is a hardship here in that this is a dramatically sloping lot. Most of the dimensional violations have existed since the existing house was constructed in 1952. The only new violations are the height, which again is 14 inches, and the story, which is created by virtue of the addition of a dormer. But all the other lot dimensions are being maintained. There's a 1 foot difference in the front because of a small overhang over the front door. Other than that, I think I would defer to Matt, I should say, and he can take you through the plans.
Thanks, John. Good evening, board. My name is Matt Mueller from Hugh Architecture, based in Dorchester. And I'll run you through this quickly. So you can see on the front page, we've marked in red the point elevations of the site, just to demonstrate that there's a approximately 5 foot drop from the front of the building to the back of the building. So this goes to the height difference and the violation because we're measuring from the average grade to the top of the structure. You can see from this context photo the existing building. This is the existing lot, the existing building outline, and we are reusing that foundation, so we're not extending out beyond that foundation, except for 1 foot in the front. There's a small cantilever on the second floor. So again, the setbacks are as they were, so that we're not exacerbating any side yard setbacks or any of the side yard or rear yard setbacks. One more thing to mention here, this is where the proposed retaining wall would be to level the site for use, to create privacy for the rear neighbor, and to mitigate some of those drainage issues, potential drainage issues. This is the existing building. You can see it's in disrepair, and I believe there's been squatters there for a while now. So it's a blight on the neighborhood. John, would you like to say anything else about these?
I would continue scrolling just to show some of the neighborhood context.
Okay, we'll get to that at the end.
Also see the slope of that, I'm sorry. That picture taken from the rear just shows you the degree of slope.
Right, so you can see that even in the existing house, it's much higher on the back than on the front. The site plan, I'm sorry, the floor plans are on the first floor. We have a garage, one-car garage. We have the bedrooms with 2 bathrooms on the first floor. We're keeping the second floor as the main public space because it has those views. So we wanted a large deck in the back to access from the second floor. And the third floor is the primary suite with a master bathroom and office space. You can see from these elevations, we have a contemporary New England style. We're using board and batten, fiber cement siding products, standing seam to highlight these sort of lower aesthetic elements. The red elevation lines mark from grade on the front is 33'5" to the peak of the roof. You can see this elevation marker here is average grade, so that's our violation there. But from the front, it won't appear higher than the 35 feet, which is mandated by code. You can see in the rear, we're creating balconies and a lot of windows for views to the water. And again, you can notice that slope from front to back, the grade. And these are 3D renderings from every angle. Notice the retaining wall in the rear that we're proposing. And then these are some neighboring buildings that I think, John, you want to make a few comments on these?
As far as the neighborhood context, these photographs were taken from the front door of the existing residence. And you're looking across Bellevue. So you can see that the basement or the first floor of the houses directly across the street are almost a full story higher on Bellevue than the first floor of the subject property. If we could scroll up a little bit more. That's taken a little bit, probably 2 doors to the left to show, again, the neighborhood context. Some of those properties appear to be significantly higher than this subject, and that's why I'm saying I don't believe that adding 1 foot over the requirement is going to block anyone's view. You can also see on some of the aerials that our lot is fairly heavily treed as it exists. The lower right is a Google Maps screenshot of the property directly across the street.
I'm sorry.
Go back up one. That shows you the continuing elevation change, rather steep, beginning further down behind our lot and continuing right up to the top of the hill. Again, architecturally, this neighborhood is a mixture. I mean, that's an amazing piece of 1950s modern architecture built into the hillside with interesting lines. But there are other houses in the neighborhood which are colonial. There's no necessarily common scheme. But it appears to me, anyway, just from driving around, taking some of these photographs, probably to the concern of some of the neighbors who saw me walking. This place has sort of a terrace feel, and I think that's what our design provides. Although looking at it from the street, it looks like a typical New England colonial farmhouse type design. And in the rear, it kind of mimics the more modern terrace views that surround it. There might be any one more down below. These are some on the left-hand side. That's taken from the rear of the lot, the one in the upper left-hand corner, to show the degree of the grade change on our lot and the one across the street. The view below that is just a little further down Dean Street. The upper right is a Knollwood Ave property, probably a block away, and the lower right are properties behind the one directly across the street on, I believe, Sonoma. So that shows you there is a mix of architectural styles, and there are some comparable heights located fairly close to this property.
Just some final views of what's existing now and what we're proposing to show you guys the contrast. And that's the end of our presentation.
Quick question, what's the change to the right side setback? How you, I thought you were using the existing foundation, is that just because something overhangs, or?
There's an overhang, there's a 1 foot overhang on the front.
That's the front, but,
Yeah.
but on the application that requested, it had, I mean,
I think it's the same
it's tiny,
roof.
it's
It's
a
the
tiny.
same roof going around the corner.
Okay, so it's just the roof line?
Yes.
It's not the foundation?
Right.
Yes.
Foundation's staying the same.
Footprint stays exactly the same.
That was my only question.
On, questions on A201, the elevations.
Mhm.
Can you walk me through the heights of the 3 different floors?
Sure. So, I believe it's hard to see up here, but the floor-to-floor height on the first floor is 9 foot. Again, those are the bedroom space, so we wanted that to be a little more tight. And the second floor height, floor-to-floor, is 10 foot. That's the open space, the living space, the kitchen space, so we wanted to have those a little bit higher ceilings there, and also to have the bigger windows for views out the back. And then the height varies on the third floor because of those dormers and slope ceiling.
I was just trying to see whether you could steal a little bit of height off of either the 10-foot floor. Oh, I wasn't sure what was one on the 9-foot floor, but if you could steal some height in the middle of the house, then you wouldn't need to go above the 35-foot.
Sure, I mean, you can see why we're doing that,
Yeah.
but if that's, that's definitely possible, if that's a requirement you guys have.
No question.
Can you just walk us through all the space on the top floor?
Sure.
Looks like you have quite a generous master suite with an office.
Yes. So, the stairs coming up, that's not under the dormer, that's coming up under the sloped roof. We made it work with the roof. And then we've placed the master bath and the master bedroom underneath that dormer. The dormer on the front, well, I'm sorry, that's not a dormer, that's the sloping gable roof on the front. That's where we put the master closet, walk-in closet. And then we have an office space out to the side, which,
Could you walk me through the square footage per floor, all 3 floors?
sure. So you can see here, first floor is approximately 1,300, second floor approximately 1,400, and third floor approximately 940.
940?
940. For a total of 3,600 approximately.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Mr. O'Brien?
I'm good at this time. I'm pondering.
And you're in a 12,000 square foot. I think we're good for now, thank you.
No problem.
Anyone want to speak in favor? First call.
Hi, my name is Dan McDevitt. I'm a lawyer. I've known John Lyons for a really long time, but I live at 38 Middlesex Street.
What was it, 38?
38 Middlesex
Thank
Street, off of Bellevue Road. When I heard about this project, I knew in talking with John that it would be important to have community involvement. And I reached out to Jim Stamos. Many of you know Jim. He's been a realtor in Squantum for many, many years. I spoke to Jim. I sent him all the plans. I went over them with him. He knows the site intimately, and he said to me, more than 50 times the Quincy police visited this house because of the drug activity. The city of Quincy evicted the people out of the house and boarded the house, and he was welcome to see something new and refreshing coming to this location. He had 3 questions that he felt were important to him, one which was the height. So I'm going to ask if Matt would put up that one slide on the side.
Elevations?
Yes. So if you look at this, the violation is not at the front door, because that's 33 feet and 5 inches. It's not at the middle of the house, which is the highest point of the physical roof, because that is 34 feet, 2 inches. But the hardship here and the slope of the grade because of the lot brings you way down to here. And then if you take an imaginary line by a strict reading of the building code, and you look at the spot where that imaginary line comes, it's here, which is below the level of the house, but it is not part of the structure. And as a matter of fact, it's beyond the porches, and then you have to go up to an imaginary point that can connect over to here again. And when you do this, and you do the geometry of this, the make-believe 14 inches shows up. So there is no part of this house, actually, that is 14 inches taller than the allowable code. It's what happens because the house is coming downhill. This is required in the code as the way you measure. Every city has a different way of drafting their building codes, and for instance, in the city of Boston, they would look here at the front for the height, they would look here for the height at the midpoint, and they would want to know what is the highest point of this structure anywhere on it. And it's not here, because when you're standing in the backyard looking out like this, what you're seeing is here and here. There is nothing here. That 14, it's a mathematical point. So that was one concern that Jim had. And we went over that, and he was very happy with that. He was concerned about the fact that Dean and this very small stretch of Bellevue are private ways. I was really surprised to find out that part of Bellevue was private, because I always thought the whole street was public, but it isn't, but the city does plow it. And his concern was, what happens if there's damage to the private ways during delivery of construction materials? In a private way, the owners of the lots own to the middle of the ways as well as to their lot lines. They're responsible for the issues of liability and maintenance to the middles of the way, although Quincy does plow both. And he was also concerned that the engineering of the retaining wall would include thoughtful planning for runoff because of the downhill. And he wanted to make sure this wasn't going to be a retaining wall that would wash away in a few years, and he wanted to see that the footings would be 100% on this site, and that there would be gravel and there'd be French drains, and that it would be secured in a way that if there was any kind of constant runoff, like we're probably going to get tomorrow with 3 inches of rain. So we went over those 3 issues. He told me that he was quite satisfied, and for that reason, I believe that's why he's not here. But the most affected neighbors are here because they wanted to hear the presentation, and if they choose to speak to you. But I just wanted to say that I've known Jim a long time, and he said that he had talked to some of his other neighbors because of his real estate experience. Immediately when they saw height, everybody gets a little crazy in Squantum, I know that. And so I just wanted to just explain to you about the height and what Jim thought, and he said that he was fine with it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you. Anyone else in favor? Second call, third call that part of the hearing closed. Letter dated November 13, 2024. We've reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. 1, specify how much impervious area will be increased to the development. 2, repair all utility trenches in the public right-of-way with controlled density fill in infrared. 3, will there be any fill or change of grade due to the development? 4, the location of the proposed driveway is not recommended. 5, upon completion of the project, as-built plan showing all utilities and building footprints need to be submitted along with a digital file. Opposed or undecided? First call, if you wanna come up, if you have any comments, or if you just wanna put your name on the record, that works as well.
Hi, my name is Joseph Skorowski. I live in the house right behind that 260. I'm on the little, down the downside of Dean Road.
Yep.
We only have a little salt box cape, and we have, the house is more or less set closer to the water, so we don't have much setback, but we have a nice sized backyard, but it's up on a hill. My question is, I noticed that the back porches, they got a little 4-foot back porch to go down the back porch now, but he's incorporating it all the way up. And it encroaches on the setback lines. And it was
So there's
supposed to be,
it's weird because there's no rear setback because of you're on a corner lot, so it doesn't,
really?
yeah, you don't, it's.
Now, the other thing is, I have partial, like a retaining wall.
Sure,
When I walk up to it, it's that high.
okay,
And I know that he's still down about 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet. I don't know how high he's gonna go. But the one other thing I had, and I made him aware of it, there was a giant septic tank
In the
that's
yard.
still in the ground.
okay.
And there's a tree going over it. The other thing was, we have trees between our yard right now.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys know about the property. It
We
was a
do.
problem property.
Yep.
And most of the trees happen to be on his lot.
Yep.
So once he cuts them, we're gonna have no privacy. We're
Yep.
gonna be, you know, like our first floor basically looks into, they're like halfway up their foundation, or the second floor, I'm sorry. And if they go up higher, I'm gonna be sitting on a white monolith. In the afternoon, I'll get no sun, none at all. And is it better than what we have now? Yes. But I would like to see a few other things done. And I noticed that he had 4 bedrooms listed, but he only has parking for 3, correct?
Yeah,
But on my plot plan, it shows, because I went up with a ruler and I measured it from his foundation to the retaining wall,
your retaining wall.
my
existing
retaining wall,
Yeah.
and it's my retaining wall. It's
Yeah.
only 19 and a half feet
From the existing
from
foundation.
the
Again,
existing foundation, but he has another,
that's where it gets weird on a corner
yeah,
lot.
that-
like,
I
if they
knew it,
measure-
I
they
knew you
measure
have to
from
have
the
an
side,
access.
Yeah,
But I noticed he has it going up second, 2 stories.
Yep.
And the only reason I can think of is he just wants to give
The
somebody a view.
yeah,
I understand.
everybody wants the view. Till somebody, in
It's-
20
yeah.
years takes your house and tries to go up 4 stories, right?
Unfortunately, everybody down at the bottom of the street has these massive red maples and just huge trees. When summertime comes, you can't
Can't see anything anyways, yeah.
You get one little spot like this, that's about it, so. Other than that, I've met with him, he seemed like a decent gentleman, and I don't know, maybe if he can shorten the height of your floors, maybe you can squeeze it in. It's a
But it
thought.
still would be 3 stories, and that's.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the bigger kick.
So, other than
Appreciate the
that,
comments.
that's my take on it.
Appreciate the comments.
All right, thank you. It's my wife, Joyce.
Hi, I'm Joyce Skrowski, Joe's wife. Can I see the picture that was prior to this that shows
This gentleman has the control of those.
the picture prior to this with the little blue house in the back? Oh, that one will work. Yeah. See the little blue house in the back?
Yes, ma'am.
Us.
Yep.
For 26 years, and I won't bother anybody with what we've been through the last 5 years with what's going on next door.
Many of us are your neighbors, and we're not your direct neighbors, but we've known the property.
Yeah,
and
it was
whatnot.
pure hell.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to something new,
Sure.
and I'm looking forward to new people, and I'm looking forward to no problems in that way. However, my little blue house has a ground level deck,
Okay.
and we're out there all the time. We
Yep.
both just recently retired, and when the new house comes up and it has 2 or 3 levels of people staring at us, it's gonna be kinda odd. And we talked to Carl about abrevieties or something at the bottom, or the retaining wall, or maybe a fence or something, and all that's cool. I'm very concerned about the sun we'll lose, because it comes from that side, and the extent of privacy. I mean, people that are gonna pay a decent amount of money for that house and gonna live on those upper floors and enjoy the view are literally staring at us.
Yep.
I don't know what can be done about it, but that kind of worries me a little
Yep.
bit.
Appreciate the comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else opposed or undecided? Name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Hi, my name is Joy Atwood. I live at 4 or 6 Sonoma Road, not the 251 Bellevue that it was shown as. So we're the Mid-Century Modern, that's directly across the street. So as my neighbors have stated, and you all know, we've had quite a show for the past few years. So my first concern is that there was habitual drug use there. There was a lack of water and other things, and so it was not only condemned, but I just want to make sure that the needles and the other biohazardous waste is removed appropriately.
That's all part of, anytime you're tearing anything down, it's all part of Mr. Anderson's department of making
Okay.
sure that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
They have, because no matter what, this thing's coming down at some point, no matter what.
Right. Oh, yes,
So
yes.
they have parameters that have to be adhered to in order to get the demolition permit, and all that has to be, adhered to,
Correct,
so.
which I would normally expect. It's
Yeah.
just,
Just airing your concern.
from what
Yeah.
I understand, there's additional concerns there because
Sure.
there are needles and human waste.
Okay.
So I wanted to say, I think the house looks lovely. I have, no problem with a house there. It would certainly be much nicer to look at, but it does impinge upon our view. And for me, when I looked, so codes and stuff is new to me. When I looked it up and trying to understand why you would request a variance and what that hardship could be, I think, when you bought the house, there are certain things that you're aware of. You know the grade, you are aware of these things. And so is the grade a hardship for you? Is that something that's a practical difficulty? And what I haven't seen is cost of adhering to the codes versus not. That top floor is beautiful. I would love to have that.
Sure.
We have, our master is where that deck is. It's built into the attic. It's a slanted ceiling, and so we don't have full height except right at the windows. And so, it seems like there's a maximization of profit where, we're losing space, we're losing privacy. I don't know whether their kitchen is gonna be looking into my master bedroom or their master's looking into mine. I'm not quite sure how the heights line up. But that's gonna be a privacy concern for us just because it's gonna be a much bigger household.
Sure.
That's all I got.
Appreciate your comments.
Hello, my name is Skip Ryan. I live at 265 Bellevue Road. I've met the gentleman who wants to build a house. It's a lot better than what it was, what we've had to live through for the last 4 or 5 years. And the only thing I would like to, we pay that extra water view for living in Squantum, and so it feels like I'm gonna lose part of my view because I'm right across the street from him. So I'd like to see the house built, but I'd like to keep it within the height range.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else opposed or undecided? Sure. Yeah, take your time.
So
Name and address.
Yes, sir. My name's Michael Donovan. My address is 11 Surfside Lane. So I have property, my property.
Address, please, sir.
Sorry about that.
Surfside.
Yeah, 11 Surfside Lane. And my property on the backside, I have frontage on Dean, which I look right across to my neighbors in the blue house and then up the hill to the proposed, development. And to echo all my neighbors, we're thrilled to death that finally this eyesore and this menace is going to be gone. We couldn't be happier about that. And fully respect a potential new neighbor of his effort to do something new and invest in that. Very grateful. I just wanted to make a couple comments just related to the size of the house. Aesthetically, it just jumps out at me as quite big relative to what's already there. And I just So first of all, the living area is, quite big, 3,600, that's a good size house, really jammed onto a small lot. The decks really add to that space, and I have a lot of empathy for my neighbors who'd be, looking up at that every day, and even myself, I think I'd be seeing a lot of that, and it just seems like a bit much, because it really sort of adds to the overall footprint, even though it's not part of the, the original foundation footprint. And then the last comment is maybe a bit technical, but when I looked at what was posted online, and it describes, the existing lot size is 5,900 square feet. And then part of that lists out the ordinance requirements, based on, I guess, current code for the city. Now, look at Quincy's all city lots, 5,000, 6,000 square foot. I grew up in a 5,000 square foot lot in Wollaston, so I understand. But when I think about the current requirements at 7,600, 7,650, if you're developing a new piece of land in Quincy, okay, fair enough. And that maybe could justify having some variances or having a much larger house on a having a much larger living area, much more shoehorned house onto that property. But when I think that we're already at 5,900, that's 1,750 more square feet, 1,750 more square feet that we don't have for this property, and yet we're trying to shoehorn a much larger house on there than exists already. So it just, overall, just jumps out at me as just a bit much, really, just a bit much. And that's really all I wanted to say. Again, we're glad to see progress, and we want progress.
Appreciate your
All
comments,
right,
Mr. Donovan.
thank you.
Anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call, please come up. Or either one. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is David Butts. I live at 6 or 4 Sonoma Road, depending who you're talking to. And yeah, I bought the house for many reasons, but I do quite love the view, and I very much enjoy the privacy in the master bedroom. And it's hard to imagine that privacy would not be severely impacted by a house that tall that could then basically look directly in.
Appreciate your comments.
Good evening. My name is Stan Grossfeld. I live at 10 Knollwood Road. The plans are gorgeous. We welcome anyone who's not a drug user into the neighborhood. Everyone suffered mightily. But I got to tell you, 30-something years ago, I saw this happen. I didn't come to the meeting. I used to live on Monmouth Street. My dear friend Linda Mann had the house, second one up. Someone bought the house, built up, ruined her view, ruined her life. She moved away, and she's just never been as happy again. So this does not block my view, but I'm here in support of my neighbors. Skippy, I noticed, has been a lobsterman forever. He pulls traps in the cold and in the freezing. So what I'm here tonight to say is, why can't you build this house to code? That's why we have laws. And that house, it would be an eyesore. It would block people's views that have worked their whole life for. And you know how much that would be monetarily, but visually. So the plans are great. Knock them down to code, and we welcome you open arms to the neighborhood.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else opposed or undecided? Second call, third call closed. Oh, sorry, there is a letter here from the counselor, from Counselor Harris. Dear Chairman Akins and fellow board members, I'm writing to strongly express my opposition to the current application before you regarding 260 Bellevue Road. While the neighborhood and I welcome the applicant's plan to rehabilitate the home, the hardships that are described in the present zoning application for the most part were self-created by the neglect of the property over years. When the present applicant acquired the property, they were aware of the property's conditions. This present zoning application request will significantly affect the zoning residency district and existing neighborhood in Res A, where 260 Bellevue is located. Specifically, there's no need to exceed the present zoning residence A height requirements as well as the property setbacks. As always, I appreciate the zoning board's hard work and due diligence on these matters. From Counselor Harris, dated the 9th. I think I'm kind of in agreement, so I think that, you know, from my standpoint, I know the property very well, known it for years. Just a couple comments to everyone regarding height and your view. So Quincy does not have a view ordinance, so unfortunately, you know, when we, you know, if they make it 35 feet at a 2.5-story house to code on the existing foundation, you know, that is 100% allowable, you know? So, you know, and I can appreciate your sentiments regarding 14 inches. I understand how to do math as well. So we don't have that, and we also don't have, unfortunately, we don't have anything regarding sun. Like, it's just not written into Massachusetts state law, it's not written in code, so, you know, while we hate to be negatively impacted as it happens, those are two things that we don't have any ramifications about. Now, we can look at, you know, not providing a variance for the height and things of that nature, but in terms of your view, unfortunately, the attitude has always been, you want the view, buy the view on the water. That's just the way Massachusetts or Quincy, it's not written into Quincy zoning. We've dealt with it for years up here. So those are just comments to you guys. That's not how I feel about this particular project. I'm just making that known moving forward. But I will say, you know, there's been a few things we've been consistent with as a board. One is 3 stories in Res A. We just don't allow it. This is 3 stories. I think that's where I start now. That's my comments.
Yeah, Brian kind of hit what I was going to say a bit, is that as long as they follow code on the existing foundation, the nonconformance can extend up to code. So there's gonna be a house there that's going to be much bigger than anybody's used to, and I walk by this at least 3 times a day, get my dog to the other side. I'm sure for the people that are working there, whatever they do, they're gonna make sure that there's the needles and the other garbage is all cleaned out of there, and obviously, you know, like saying anything would be a huge improvement, but a nice house would be nice to not have to walk by that spot and have my wife just keep saying, what the hell is going on there? So, that being said, I agree with Brian. 2.5 is 2.5, and I think the story should remain that. I'm not telling you that it's not gonna block the people on the other side of the street, and I'm not telling you that the folks who are below it are gonna be any happier with what's up there, because it's gonna be big, but it would be sticking to our guns and the code. As far as, the decks and that, I'm a big proponent of not putting a deck on the 3rd floor, because I have personal knowledge of being on mine twice in 6 years. Great view, but I don't see it. You know, it's walking up 3 flights of stairs is just not, you know, carrying stuff. You stay in your kitchen.
Sorry,
and
could you speak just a little louder?
I'm sorry.
Us old folk in the back?
Yes, I've been known to mumble. My point being that I don't know that anybody is gonna be happy. It's not gonna save the views, it's not gonna save the shadows, because there's gonna be a bigger house there than anybody's used to. It's been there forever. So I'm with Brian with staying with 2.5 stories. I think that's a compromise I'm not willing to make. It does help everybody to some extent, but the height of the building can still be the height of the building, 35 feet, but can't be a 3rd story. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
We've been consistent about 2.5 story limit, Res A, so I'm not prepared to modify my position on that. I understand that it's been an eyesore for apparently years up there, and anything would be an improvement. I would like to see, however, these drawings improved for consideration of the neighbors and the code.
I agree with the other members. My concern on the rear is that you have the staircase connecting all the decks. I think the 1st floor deck on the bedroom level is rather large, and I think having an exterior staircase will welcome their visitors right up the back and hollering up the back of the decks. So I'd like to see the staircase perhaps go away for a benefit to the neighbors and perhaps the deck on the bedroom level doesn't need to be quite as large.
Can I clarify one comment? Are you guys asking us, I understand the 3-story comment, are you saying the height is actually okay, or you just don't want the 3 stories?
We want to see you at 35 and be 2.5 stories.
Okay.
I think that's pretty clear, yeah, I think that's, I don't think we've moved anywhere forward without that, that's a
The
baseline.
problem with it is, you're 14 inches, the next guy comes in and he wants 26. And then the guy comes in after that and he wants 39 inches, so.
That's what
It's,
Dormer's making it
we
clear.
adhere to it in that zoning up there, and it's for the benefit of the neighborhood. The other ones look big, and they probably are, but I think most of those are dormers, not fully occupied.
They're not full
spaces.
dormers either, they might be a
Right,
Nantucket dormer or
quarters
something
or-
like that, you know,
so-
like, I think that's, or, you know, I mean, it's just over what we've been comfortable with in Res A, so, I think,
And the size of the lots, you're asking for a lot of house on a rather small lot. So the other large houses in the neighborhood probably have larger lots than what we're looking at here.
I think, can you get some revised plans?
Yes. One thing we forgot to mention, I know the discussion's ended, but part of that real lot discussion entailed planting relatively mature arborvitae fairly close together to provide some privacy. And I appreciate that. We mean no disrespect
I
to
think,
any of the neighbors, or to the code for that matter.
I think the inclination we got tonight was that you've been well respected and well received in the neighborhood. It's just, there's a couple things that it just need to, we just can't budge on. I think, you know, people have obviously aired their, you know, appreciation of you and how you propose this. So I appreciate that, because usually people come in with pitchforks in situations like this. I think it's a little bit exacerbation of what they were dealing with before, but a lot of it about probably how you approached it. So I think you seem amenable to making these changes and doing the best to appease the neighborhood. And I think that if you can just, you know, try and mirror those two and feel like you hit it on the head, well, I think we're
Addressing the tree issue, legally, we can't touch any trees off the lot. You can only touch what may overhang your lot, and there's no intention to cut down any trees unnecessarily. That's all,
sure.
you know, part of the ongoing plan. I'm a tree advocate personally, so I saw that in the photographs, that this is a well-treed neighborhood, and
It's a unique conversation in that part of the neighborhood too. And some past
well, yeah, well,
indiscretions.
that's a lovely relationship.
Can you, January 28th is the earliest we got available. Can you get new plans in the next couple of weeks, and is that plenty of time? Work with the neighbors? Maybe reach out to Councilor Harris too. I would suggest that. It seemed like he was, you know, obviously hearing the support of his neighborhood too. So I
Which
would
is his job. Thank you all for your
Thank you.
consideration, and again,
Wanna make a
thanks to
motion?
Madam Clerk
Move to the
for
28th?
helping us get to this point.
ZBA 24-60, Attorney John Lyons for variance to demolish the existing structure down to the foundation, reconstruct a single-family home on the same foundation, increasing the size from 1.5 to 3 stories on the premises number 260 Bellevue Road. Quincy hereby move that the matter be continued to January the 28th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so
Aye.
moved.
God is 14 inches.
Oh. We'll save that, thank you. Good to see you, Stan, long time no see. Do you remember me from Judy Levering days? Judy's my aunt, yeah. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 more.
You used to only measure from the front, right? Now that's part of the new. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's hot.
ZBA 2472, Greg Deering for a variance to change the use both of the porch on the left to use of both the porch on the left of the dwelling as well as the front porch, and to extend the living space on the premise numbered 1457 Furnace Brook Parkway, Quincy. I'm applicant or the representative here. Appreciate your patience. Sorry, it's been a long night.
No, it's quite all right.
Go ahead. The
Greg
board is
Deering.
yours here.
Greg Deering, 21 Western Ave. I'm here for 1457 Furnace Brook Parkway. This is my first time doing this. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm not aware of the procedure and everything.
That's all right, so tell us, I understand you've already started the work and didn't realize you
Yes.
needed the permit, so just tell us what you already did, tell us what happened, tell us, give us the story.
So this originally started out as a clean out for the homeowner, which I'm friends with.
Okay.
After the person that moved out, they'd been living there for like 7 years.
Okay,
And as the further we got, the further we found deterioration in the property.
okay,
It ended up being complete, not worth saving.
Okay.
I sent a email over to Robert Collins, let him know that I was gonna, who the inspector was in the neighborhood, so I could talk to them and let them know that we're proceeding on the project. Even though we don't have the permit yet, we only had the permit for roofing, siding, windows.
okay,
So when the inspector came out, he told me that we're gonna have to stop and we have to get a variance because of where we're extending the living space on the front porch. Now there's no longer a front porch, we're extending the living
you
space.
just were enclosing, or did you knock out the front porch?
Knocked it out.
Knocked it out?
Still the existing foundation.
Still okay,
Yeah.
but you built additional living space?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we basically did that so we could increase the size of the living space above. It has small bedrooms. We're trying to make it so it's comfortable for a family of 5.
okay.
And it's the side as well on.
So at this point, how much of the work is complete?
It's,
A lot.
good part of it's framed.
Okay,
Nothing inside
Nothing
is
finished.
done.
yeah,
Didn't do any roofing framing or anything like that.
okay. And did you, after you got the stop work order, anything else going on since then?
No, we
Okay,
stopped.
Okay, all right, good,
We ceased everything completely.
Okay.
We ended up moving forward with the garage after we got the permit for that.
okay. Any other questions at this point?
So we have the front and the right side, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's where the,
You push the right side out?
yeah, it's listed as a finished enclosed porch on the assessor's map.
Behind the stairs leading up to the front.
To the left side of the building, looking at it from Furnace Brook Parkway.
So the roof was to the left of the
Yeah.
push out there, and then the right side, you came out just a single story over that though, right? Or was that 2 stories?
That's
over
2 stories as well.
that? Okay,
And that's, again, that's on the existing foundation.
all right, so I see it now from the
Did we
left
get a
side.
drawing of what's proposed, Brian? I have the existing plans.
Those are actually proposed, he just listed it wrong.
Okay, so would you mind marking my plan and just
Yeah.
showing me, you can write right on it, what is, just X over what is new?
Okay, so, right here, this used to be, this area right here was the finished enclosed porch. Now it's gonna, we wanna make it part of the dining room. And this is gonna be an extension, so the bedroom upstairs can be.
So,
bigger than-
so this second floor is brand new?
Yes,
And how deep is this bump out?
it is about 7 feet, I believe.
So you're coming out 7 feet and going up to the second floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same depth as what's already there for the,
So what was the deck? You've now enclosed it on the first floor and brought it
this-
up?
This one wasn't a deck, this one was a finished enclosed porch.
Okay,
It was already being used as an office, as a living space, but it wasn't listed as that on the, assessment office, it says finished enclosed porch.
okay.
The front is the,
Front is the same, right, there was a porch.
yeah, the
If you
front was
face
just
the
an
house
open
on
porch.
the left.
Yes,
So that's your front, that's
Yeah.
unchanged?
this was an open porch,
Okay,
now it's enclosed.
Okay.
We extended the bedroom above it to move it forward.
So they put 2 floors on. what
On
was
the front.
Was a porch.
Yes.
okay. Okay, so you marked the left side, it's really the front you meant to
Both.
mark?
Yes.
Okay, and the
Well,
left
there's
side
both of them.
too?
This is the left side,
Yeah.
where there was a finished enclosed porch. And this is the front where it was an open
Open
porch.
Okay, so it's 2 sections?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then, I understand, I just wanna let the board know, so that you guys were fined for doing the
Correct.
permit, and the fine's been paid at this point,
Yes.
correct? Thank you. All right. Any other questions at this time?
So the board's on, the building department's on board with this?
Building department issued the cease and desist, which they did. They were also fined. Fine's been paid. So at this point, look at it as a new project, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Ms.
No.
Good.
Charlie, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Good for now? You can have a seat for now.
Okay.
Anyone want to speak in favor? First call, second call, third call closed. We've reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project and have no comments. Council, do you want to speak now, or do you want to? Okay. Anyone opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call. Council, you want to come up? Thanks for your patience tonight, Mr. Devine.
James Devine, 117 Cross Street, Ward 4 Councilor. Yeah, the property, it's a nice property, nice neighborhood over there. I'm a little bit disappointed in the actions. There was a permit pulled for windows and siding, which tells me they know that you need permits to do siding and windows. And then I received phone calls from neighbors saying, what's going on? The whole house was gutted and some additional work was added. Many people on other projects, they have to get lead and asbestos abatements, and it's an old house. All of that was removed, and where is it now? I just want to make it public notice that, you know, I was disappointed in the actions. The building department works extremely hard. They shouldn't have to go around chasing people when they're making these types of things. So going forward, it looks like it's going to be nice. I just hope that the contractor and the property owner follow ordinance, city rules, and work closely with the building department, because to be honest, we have, I think, there's 2 exceptional building departments in the state of Massachusetts that I've worked with, and that was Quincy and Boston. And this was before I moved here 20 years ago. I had that same feeling towards Quincy. So they work really, really well with anybody. So I encourage the people working on it to reach out and work closely with the building department to make sure they conform and finish properly. That's it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know being at your craft as well, I know it's important to you that people do things the right way, so, not just your ward, but also your profession, so.
Yeah.
I appreciate your passion on it.
I also understand that, you know, not everybody knows everything. I'm not saying that.
I do.
I mean, to be honest, I do too, but nobody likes it when we say that. So I really just encouraging to make sure that, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. And like I said, the building department works, and the zoning and planning, everything. You all do a great job. I really, it's not easy. But yeah, so anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree with him. Everybody's been very cooperative.
Yep.
I apologize where the whole thing started out. This is actually my first job, coming back working on my own. And I have never used the online system before. It was always had been going to the office, talk to them, see what you gotta do. I applied for the permit online. I thought it was applied for. When the inspector came out, I went online to look at it. It said draft. It was never actually sent in. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like I said, never used it prior to this.
Yep.
Wasn't aware of it. But everybody has been very helpful moving along, so.
No, and I appreciate that, you know, once it came to you, you know, that you stopped, and, you know, I mean, we have people that don't stop, you know, and continue to push forward, so
Yeah.
I think, and, you know, look.
No, I'm not.
You
I'm not-
paid your penance, you
I'm
know.
not stepping on anybody's toes. I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, and I'm
Yeah,
all
you
I'm all
paid your
done.
penance and you're fine, you
with
know.
assumptions.
Now you're gonna deal with Mr. Devine.
Putting his camper in front.
Yeah, no,
I'll be
look,
back
I
for
think,
my whippings.
I think the project's a good project. I think it's a good lesson for everyone, you know, I mean, like, the product, sometimes departments can be cumbersome. Sometimes it's pain in the ass to get inspectors out to do that. I think everything I've ever heard about Quincy is the exact opposite. So I just urge you.
I've never had a problem in Quincy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing construction for 40 years.
Yeah.
I've had many inspectors in Quincy. I've dealt with a lot of them in the years in the past. Everybody's been awesome. Never had a problem. Like I said, not like it's an excuse, but I've never used the system before. I thought it was applied for. We just kept moving forward because of the situation in the property.
Sure.
So,
Well, understandable, mistakes happen, you paid your penance, so like I said,
Yep.
I'm
And
in
believe me,
favor,
believe
I'm
me, I
in
have.
favor of moving forward.
Yeah, we sit here and try to determine whether it's someone who's begging for forgiveness instead of permission, or if it was just an inadvertent error. Seems like it's the latter. Project looks nice, and again, you talk to them, you end up not having problems.
Yeah.
It's not always yes.
I know, I've been dealing with them and zero issues whatsoever. Everybody's been completely helpful.
Yep, in favor.
I'm in favor as well.
In favor.
Okay, pass, I'll get back to work.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Make a motion?
Yep. Case 70, ZBA 2472, Greg Deering for a variance to change the use of both porch on the left of the dwelling as well as the front porch to extend the living space on the premises number 1457, Furnace Parkway, Quincy. I hereby move that the application be approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you. ZBA 2475, Catherine Andrade for a variance to extend the existing driveway on the premise numbered 8587 South Street, Quincy. Is the applicant or the representative here?
Victor Aquino, 85 South Street.
Just one second, just into the mic, sorry.
Victor Aquino, 85 South Street.
Thank you, Victor. Sorry for the delay here. Appreciate your patience. Go ahead and tell us what you're trying to do.
I'm just trying to do a driveway extension on the front of my property. I live on South Street, which is a no parking street both ways. I guess parking's a major issue in Quincy, as we all know.
Yep.
I'm perpendicular to Atherton Street. I live in a multifamily. We have 4 cars in our house alone, and Atherton Street is a very busy street on its own. And I've got into it with my neighbors where just when I have guests over, and honestly, so I took it upon myself. I called somebody to do his asphalt, and we installed a little extension off the front of the driveway, 12 feet wide, 20 feet long, something that could fit my family vehicle, because we have already a 19-foot entryway, but it narrows down. And I have 3 boys, and with this Durango, honestly, as soon as I can't put it in the back of the driveway, but I can't put it in the front. If not, my 3 boys can't get out, my wife can't get out, and then we're constantly shuffling cars around. So we decided to do a little extension. I did it already. I found out it wasn't. I found out I needed to, of course, come through this process, and just trying to get it all resolved.
Sure.
Honestly.
So contractor didn't mention a thing, I'm sure.
Definitely not. He got it done so fast. He and gone with the wind.
He was in and out.
Yeah, but honestly, after figuring it out, also, I was, kind of got schooled in the whole thing, and I guess like towns of Milton and all the neighboring towns don't require an asphalt permit for doing something like that or something so small. But
It might have been the amount. We have a.
exactly, and that's where it fell into.
Yeah,
of course.
we have an ordinance that if it goes over a certain.
Of course,
amount. So
and I totally
this
understand.
14 by 20, that was
14
the
20.
addition.
Correct.
That was the additional.
Yep.
And that's in the back of your.
That's right. That's right in the front.
So current driveway's here, and then it's right off the front of it.
Correct. Yep. It's all fenced in. I still have my existing fence right there.
Okay.
And so it's all fenced in. It's made with a nice curve. They graded it perfectly with the driveway. It's not steep. It's not level. The fence is still there, but at first they removed the fence and they asphalt. The current sidewalk is asphalt, and honestly, you can't even tell the difference. Once the new season comes, they're gonna seal coat everything, which is the game plan as long as it can stay, of course. But yep, that was. I know Charlie came out, took some pictures of it. The fence back in. Yes. I'm saying they removed it just so it's actually gave it a nice good flush finish. Yeah.
Were you fined at all for that?
I was fined for it, $100, and originally I was going through with Charlie. He found out I was missing something. I actually had to check. He said hold on to it till after this.
See what happens.
I actually have it right here, and dated for the 10th of 11th, and but he just told me just to hold on to it until after this.
I appreciate it. Any questions?
No, I have no questions.
Just a quick question, any green space left over after you asphalt?
Oh, tons of green space. I think I have the biggest I have the biggest green space in the front. It's actually pretty massive. I had a square footage in that photo. I think I own.
Yeah, she showed me a picture. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Barry?
No issues, thank you.
Did the contractor tell you I got a half a load on the truck that I don't need?
You don't need. I'll let him know that.
No question.
You can have a seat for a second.
Okay.
Anyone want to speak in favor? First call, second call, third call closed. We reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project. No comments from the DPW. Opposed or undecided? First call, second call, third call closed. I'm gonna. How do we deal with the fine? Can could we waive it if we wanted to, if we approve this?
Charlie Don, I'll leave it up to him, he could probably, we can dismiss it.
He did mention,
I think, I mean, it's probably a contractor issue. I don't blame him for not knowing. I would be willing to waive this one. I'm gonna just say, I'm approving it either way, but I'd be willing to waive it. It's up to you guys, though.
Same, I agree.
I don't know that I have authority to do that.
Yeah.
If I do, it'll be our recommendation to Charlie.
I will mention that me and Charlie actually became very friendly afterwards, and he came out to the property, and he actually said that. He said, if it gets approved, I'm gonna waive it, and so
Okay.
that's why I'm literally holding on to the check right
Yeah,
here.
no, I appreciate your honesty, man. I appreciate it.
All good, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a motion, Jeff?
Case number ZBA 24-75, Catherine Andre for a variance to extend the existing driveway on the premises number 85-87 South Street, Quincy. I hereby move that the application be approved.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you. So, it's weird, there's an appeal process of 20 days, so once an appeal process goes through.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything, because you already did the work, so. Yeah, so you already did the work, you don't have to worry about it, but there is an appeals process. that's
Famous
already-
last words, don't worry about it.
Thank you. ZBA 2481, Manuel Piva for a variance to construct a single family with an attached two-car garage upon completion demolishing the existing single-family dwelling on the premise number 10 St. Germain Street, Quincy. Is the applicant or their representative here?
Yes.
I don't know.
Did I do something wrong?
Oh, it timed itself off me anyhow the other.
All right.
I'm so careful to not touch the damn thing. You know what, it's the TVs. If they haven't been, there's no,
That definitely would be, it'd be permanently broken.
It'd be like superhero stuff.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name for the record is Manuel Piva, and I represent the property owner Dale Horstman, who's here tonight with us. I'm the designer and project manager for this project. My address is 20 Varsity Place in Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The slide right here is the existing photos of the residents.
Thank you.
Mr. Horstman has lived here for 16 years. This home was constructed in the late 1800s per city record. It is 1,107 square feet, 1.5 stories. This home is positioned on the lot only 20 feet from the front yard setback, where 25 minimum is required, and it's 4 feet from the side setback, where 13 is required. So it's pre-existed non-conforming in its current location. This is a view of the shoreline to the home. You can see it in the far background. The proposal is for Dale to enjoy the benefits of his 320-foot deep property. You can see on this plan where the house is versus the entire length of grass to the shoreline. He would like to construct a new home with an attached garage repositioned closer to the waterfront. You can see here the proposed elevations of the home. It would be 2 stories, 2-stall garage. There's the front elevation, the right elevation, which would actually be the entrance. So if you went back to the site as you entered the driveway, that would be the right elevation. Rear elevation, and then the left elevation, which that would face the shoreline. Here's a floor plan of the house. The house would be 1,305 square feet. As I mentioned, a 2-story dwelling with 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 1 half bath. It'd be a 29 by 45, the main home, with a 2-stall garage, a 12-foot balcony, 2-story, again facing the shoreline. And here is the site plan. It is set back 145 feet from St. Germain Street, front setback. It is 13 feet from the right setback, 15.1 from the left. And the reason it's 15.1, that is the front of the elevation. You could see how we have the sidewalk coming in from the driveway here. Oop, that doesn't work. So the sidewalk here, so this would be the driveway coming in, and the sidewalk coming into the garage, into the main house. So we slid the house, so this rear house faces the rear of this house on the 13-foot setback. So as far as all the zoning criteria, everything is met except that front yard setback. The code is 25-foot minimum or 55-foot maximum. So we are here tonight requesting a 90-foot front yard setback. The homeowner was at the city hall and did some plan research and found out that the property to our west, when 20 and 22 St. Germain were created, there was a variance of 145 feet. Here's the dimensional form. So there was a pre-existing variance granted, so that's where we came up with 145 to match the same variance from our neighbor. And we also, this exhibit shows you the average setback. The parcel in question is right here. So the green line shows the houses along, 3 houses to the north, 3 houses to the south, and the orange line is showing the furthest house from the east and west, my bad, which the house will be right on that green line, approximately. So again, we're here in front of the board for that 145-foot front yard setback. The shape of the lot also is pre-existing non-conforming in its width. So the width is 53.67, where 65 is required. So it is an existing non-conforming lot in width. Also, with the 2 houses constructed to the east and west, if we were to comply with the 55-foot setback, we would essentially build the home in an alleyway. And the hardship would be requesting to be at 145, which was a previously approved variance to our abutter to the west, eliminate the hallway effect. And this would be no detrimental hardship to the public good. We meet the average setbacks along the waterfront. This home will be in harmony with all neighbors relative to architecture style and will in fact increase home values in the area. And I have Mr. Dale with us also if there's any questions for him, but that is my presentation.
Is this a flood variance too? It's not in the flood zone?
No, it is not. One of the DPW questions was that flood zone question in the memo. I did engage the engineer. He does have a response, but I said hold off on that. I do have the plan if you'd like.
What's your base elevation? I'm just interested.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab that right now.
How do you back it, man?
Is it there?
It's not in it.
Yeah, no, I'm just. That's just fascinating.
So here we go.
I
Hopefully
mean,
you could see
no, it's
this.
a river, but.
So here's your flood zone. Base elevation 13.0, the line's right
Wow,
there.
okay, Surprised.
Finished floor elevation 23.4.
appreciate it.
That plan was in response, like I said, to the
I'd be
DPW
buying
comment
flood
letter.
insurance, I tell you that much. Tonight? No, on that, any questions, any other questions? Any questions at this time?
You guys presented a few months back,
Yes.
and what has changed?
What has changed is, we were here a few months back.
Yes.
We're at 139 feet. So the variance, we were set at 139, we're now at 145. 2 reasons why we withdrew that application and we're here with a new one was, one, when we got with the architect to work on the plans, the house was 26 feet wide, which was a prefabricated house. The 13-foot is the maximum width of the walls to go over the roadway. When we looked at the layout and started to look at the actual layout, it made the rooms at 9 feet wide on the second floor, which is far too narrow. So the house went from, put that right here. So the house previously went from 26 feet wide to 29 feet wide in the current proposal. So that 2 foot in the width made that a more usable bedroom, and the bathrooms along that side. So that was the one change.
So with meaning, so side to side? You went-
Side to side, yes,
became
ma'am.
You're coming bigger?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But still within the
And then what about
setback.
the placement on the lot?
Yes, ma'am.
How has that changed?
We went from 139 to 145 off of the front side, front lot line. So the
So
sides
did you
were
make-
always
Did you make the house smaller, or you pushed it closer to the water?
push it closer to the water.
By how many feet?
The difference of 139, yeah, 6 feet.
Okay, so it was the same size front to back? So you made it wider and you shifted it closer to the water?
Correct, correct.
As I recall at that last hearing, the neighbor in the White House attended the hearing and had a question for you about the view down the river.
No, it was the opposite,
This side-
yeah,
this side.
with the gray house.
They were concerned about the
View over our property, correct.
Did you speak with them about your new proposal?
Yeah, so, last time we were continued, and the reason for continuance is the chairman asked for the neighbors to meet neighbor to neighbor and see if they could agree on a happy medium. That meeting did happen, and they agreed to disagree. So it did not go anywhere. What came out of that was views over my client's property, wanting to preserve them. And as you know, by law, your property is your property. We are complying with the side setbacks, and we're asking for the front variance, but that's what it came down to, was not to obstruct any views over the property line from my client.
Are they aware of tonight's meeting?
Yes,
That name?
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Charlie, any questions?
No, I'm good right now, thank you.
Anyone want to speak in favor? First call, says favor. All right, first call, second call, third call closed. Letter from the DPW, dated November 13th. We've reviewed the submittal for the above referenced project, and our comments are as follows. Will there be any fill or change of grade due to the development? The proposed sewer service should be 6-inch PVC pipe and should have a clean out. The proposed water service should be one inch copper pipe. It should have a shut-off valve and box installed on the sidewalk. The flood zone line should be delineated on the plan. The applicant should confirm the proposed house will not be constructed in the flood zone area. 5, upon completion of the project, as-built plan showing all utilities and building footprints need to be submitted along with a digital file. An elevation cert should be submitted for if the property is in the flood zone. Opposed or undecided? Do you want to go first, Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Edward Fleming. I'm here on behalf of the Van Dams who own the property at 20 St. Germain. I'll be honest with you, this is very rare for me to come and speak, raising concerns or opposition, and quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed that I even have to be here. But several months ago, I got involved on behalf of the Van Dams, who are friends of mine. They asked me, they came to me, they talked to me about their concerns, and I recommended to them that they go and speak with their neighbor. To talk with their neighbor about the concerns they had, and their concerns were, yes, about their view down to the ocean, but their concerns are also about their privacy. This house is essentially built right on top of their home, where they have nothing right now. And when they bought their home years ago, and when their house was built years ago, it never had a home sitting directly next to them that impacted their privacy. So they did. They tried to speak with the applicant and his architect. In fact, I then, after they had a complete failure of response on behalf of the applicant, I reached out to the applicant's architect, who, by the way, is a nice man and was very friendly with me on the phone, and he assured me that he would talk with his client and they'd look to see if they could make reasonable accommodations. And the reasonable accommodations, by the way, that were requested by the Van Dams was that the applicant at the time was seeking about 139-foot variance to come 139 feet off of Saint Germain, that much further back from the water that they are now, that they set it back 10 feet from that. So they go to 129. And what 129 would do is it would put the three houses that are next to each other almost equally distant from each other. If I could show you on the plan, I don't know if you can bring up the plan that shows the homes.
I mean, I'm looking at it here.
Oh, yeah.
Council, I mean, if anybody wants.
So that's what I requested of the architect. And the response that I got from the architect was no, that his client was unwilling to make any changes. As a result, my client came to the last meeting and expressed those concerns to the board. And in fact, I believe that the board made very clear to the applicant that he was to go back and try to work out a compromise with the neighbor. And when my client reached out to the applicant again, he refused to talk. He indicated he was not making any changes, this was his property, and he could do whatever he wanted. Not only did he not make changes to the proposal to respond to my client's reasonable accommodation of setting the building, pushing the building back from the water by 10 feet, he's now before you today asking for it to be even further, closer to the water, and he added a second level to the deck of the home. So not only will it block my client's view entirely, as it sits now today at 145 feet, but it will also have, there's a gas vent on the side of the house that vents it's a fireplace system or a gas stove, and it's blowing right at my client's home. It's not even vented to the roof. It's blowing right at my client's home. And my clients are gonna sit there in their living room now, and they're gonna have this house blocking their entire view, interfering with their privacy, and now they're gonna go out to their deck, and because the house is even pushed further, it's gonna affect their ability to enjoy their home on their deck. I mean, I didn't wanna be here tonight. I honestly did not want to be here tonight, and not because I have to sit here till 8:30 at night. It was because I thought, as this board always asks of applicants, work with your neighbors. Try to make reasonable accommodations to your plan to be responsive to your neighbors. And the response we got from this applicant was exactly the opposite. This is done in spite, and it's basically telling you, our client, my client, but also this board, I can do whatever I damn well please. And I'm gonna come back and now I'm gonna ask you for even more relief than I was asking for before. I mean, it's frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me because I'm here all the time with clients, and I was tonight. And we're gonna go back to the drawing board and we're gonna make changes to respond to this board's request and to the neighbor's request. And this applicant doesn't think he needs to do that. So I would respectfully request that this board again direct this applicant that he is to modify his plans to at least be responsive to the concerns that have been raised. And again, it's not just about view. It's about intrusion of privacy, and it's about the venting of their gas stove, and the effects that property has against my client. My client is not opposed to their neighbor building a house. They think it's great. They have no issues with that. In fact, they understand their privacy is going to be affected if he sets the building back 129 feet from Saint Germain. But at least it will be a little bit of an accommodation that they're asking for. So I would respectfully request that this board do the same thing that you've done all night long and ask this applicant to make reasonable accommodations to his plans. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it, Counselor. There's also a letter, it's not really in favor or against, but it's Undecided. My name is Trevor Allen. I'm the owner of 22 St. Germain Street, Quincy, where I reside with my wife Natasha and my sons. We are next door neighbors to the Van Dam family who reside at 20 St. Germain Street. It is our understanding that in July of this year, Mr. Hausman introduced plans requesting a variance, which Mr. Van Dam requested a setback of 10 feet. Mr. Hausman withdrew his plans and filed a new plan requesting a 90-foot variance. I think those numbers are off, but we received a letter from the zoning board in November regarding the meeting on December 10th, which we unfortunately are unable to attend. Our hope is that Mr. Hausman and the Van Dams can come to a compromise in which both parties feel are reasonable. Sincerely, Trevor and Natasha Allen. My comments are, like, it's certainly spiteful. And if your client wants to be spiteful, so can I. I mean, literally, like,
Could I respond to that?
I know, but there's a maximum, I've never known there was even a maximum variance. I think there's a plenty of lot here to find some type of agreement and not have not have this end up in litigation for both you, your client, for your neighbors. You're gonna live next to each other the rest of your lives. There might be some, reasoning that he found, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it to your client and this board and anything else. And if that's the way you wanna, if you want us to vote on that tonight, we certainly can vote on that tonight.
If I could respond to a couple comments made by Attorney Fleming. He is correct that he reached out to me via phone call and a couple emails early on in the process. I did respond to him. I gave him the client's view. He went dark. That was the end of it. We came forward in the hearing, and then the Van Dam showed up, and they were in opposition. Mr. and Mrs. Van Dam, they were, she was up at the board throwing papers, etc. It was continued. The chairman said, neighbor to neighbor. I was told not to be in it. It was neighbor to neighbor, needs to go meet, and you come back here. That neighbor to neighbor meeting happened. I wasn't part of it. Okay. I just got the feedback. Yeah. And when we further investigated and we seen there was precedence on a 145-foot setback, a matter of fact, on the Van Dam's lot, we said, well, there's precedence, let's go at 145. I have a presentation I would like to explain to you. It's a quick movie that's gonna show you at 129 and at 145, when my client spends, the $1.5 million to do this, what he would be looking at 129 versus 145 for his views. Now remember, down the sides of the property, you have the right to put a fence. So we could put fences down both sides of the property, taper at the shoreline, correct? 6 foot?
6 foot.
By code?
By code.
Can I show you my presentation on this? Please. So it's unfair to say that they did not meet. So this is the sight line, so where the current proposal is at 145, and you're seeing on my overhead that although it is approximately 8 feet forward of 20 St. Germain, when you go along all of the setbacks along the water line, it is right on the line. There's the plan that I've just talked about. Now, this is, if I'm correct, is this a vent? Is this a vent? Is this a vent? So, the rear of Van Dam's has vents. That's the rear of the house. The rear of our house has a vent. You need to vent the fireplace, so we have a vent. The vent to vent is 26 feet away. That's a 2-lane road, 13 feet and 13 feet. That's currently the view from the property, from my client's property to his house, and there's his water view. The other house on Fort St. Germain, same thing, water view, large window, straight at the water, and then there's the view of his house. This is what my client has right now, is looking down a bowling alley. This right here is at 145, so this is what it would look like looking up the river. And this, if this plays for me, this is a quick video. I'm sorry about the choppiness.
That's all right.
But this is at 145, what would be seen from my client's proposed edge of home. And then, if I go to the next one, this is what it would look like at 129. Sorry, I closed out of that thing. And this is all staked out in the yard. Why is it not showing? Let me,
That's what I was gonna ask, you know, do you have this staked out?
yes.
Did-
Okay, let's try this
Do you have
again.
it from both, like, do you have 145 and then
Yes.
129?
Yes, well, the 145, sir. And the comment about the second story not being there, the balcony was always there. There was always a two-story. Why isn't it not opening? Here we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you can.
Sir, what would, if the back, if your water side aligned with 20, what would that be?
I don't know why this isn't working on me. I don't know. You're saying if, well, that was the previous application.
So the first application at 139?
Correct, and that's what I'm gonna show you.
And that
if-
was in line with 20?
It was maybe a couple feet back, 6 feet back maybe. So I don't know why this doesn't want to work. Let me try it one last time. It started to work for us.
So the length of your house, total length, 45, 32, 77.
Could you show us the site plan that you first presented at the 139?
Yes.
That would be helpful.
No, I don't know why that's not.
222. If you don't even have that delineated. How long is this lot? 308.
Proposed plot plan, is that it?
And again, this was withdrawn. I'll zoom in so you could see it.
Okay, so the application from last time, it looks like you were in line with 20.
It's a bit over because the line actually goes that way.
Right, and
It's a line that way, but the shoreline goes that way.
But the line of the houses looks to be in line.
correct. Yeah, it was set back.
The shoreline, you go the line that way,
But if you align it with your house to his house, looks like they originally had you on the same plane.
depends on how you draw the line. Our request for the plane is a little bit different, so move it back a little bit, but we never got to that.
Yeah, and the request was that it just be halfway set back, so it's kind of sits halfway between the house to the right and the Van Dam's house.
But you've also asked it to be further back than the Van Dams.
Yeah, but further back than it was originally, but not as far back as the house on the right. So if he showed you that plan again, you'd be able to see what I'm talking about.
I don't know why this is crashing on me.
That's okay.
But what it was you envision
What's your
that
name,
first,
Okay, you can come up if you want.
that first view, the panoramic, it showed no obstructions. The second view, when I was back at 129.
Can you just say your name and address for the record?
Neil Hausman, 10 St. Germain Street, Quincy, Mass. So this is what the view would be at
39.
129.
That's 29.
Yeah, so I had it all staked out. And you're gonna see, it's gonna
So
come
that's
across.
the- this
would be
is
would be
your
the
back?
of the house.
Okay.
I'd be looking at my neighbor's back of his house and his fence right here.
Okay.
This will circle around and will show that I'm gonna be looking at the back of their house pretty much at the middle window.
And that second line, what's the second line here?
It's for a deck. That's how I measure it all out.
So you were measuring what your deck would look like from.
And that's what that's be my view, in between two houses.
Yeah.
I bought the house years ago, never made the effort to, think I was gonna move into the house, but I did. And I had proposals for a prefab home.
That's what you mentioned, yeah.
Right, correct. So, I'm just looking at it, that when I bought the house, I bought it for the view, just like everybody else has.
Yeah, can you
Oh,
just,
sorry.
so we can hear you on the.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I bought the house, so I bought the house in regards to, having a house on the water. So I wanted the views, that's what I bought the house for, and that's what I'm asking for now. Now, in regards to the property we're looking at, whether it's Van Dam's house or my house proposed, if you look straight down at 12 o'clock, we're both gonna have the same view. and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the Van Dams want the view down the river, which is the nice part of the view. So if I put the house at the 145, it's gonna be a little bit further in front of their house, yes. If you're looking at, at a clock, it was 9 o'clock, going down the river, they're gonna be, not at 9 o'clock, they might be at 10. So they're really not losing that much view, and they have all the view on the right-hand side of their property also. So, I'm just looking at, before I was willing to share the view, I don't think it's even fair now. We found out that, Trevor's house at 22 St. Germain Street was 145. I went down and talked to Mr. Conlon. I said, that's at President's, and he said, yes, it does.
I mean-
And that's the reason why we decided to go for the 145.
I
And I'm not doing it to being vindictive.
No,
I'm
I
not.
get it. It sounded vindictive at the point, that's just what I'd say. I
My
mean,
original-
I think that you're both stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think that one of you wants to preserve your view and one of you wants to take advantage of your view, right? You're both building, off the street, over the maximum lot line, over the maximum allowed. This is probably what was written in the zoning code for this exact reason, because your lot probably is one of, 5 in the city of Quincy where this would even be a problem, like this isn't an issue with these, long, narrow, running to running to the water. I admittedly, I didn't get by the property. I'd like to just go look at both of those staked out personally.
Sure. The stakes are gone. I'm sorry, but that
That's
was
fine.
a long time ago. But
Yeah,
you can
no,
now
no,
see
no,
where
even,
it
yeah,
is.
I mean, I'd just like to just go look at it. I mean, I'm being honest, I didn't get down there. I don't know if any of you guys would feel like you would benefit from that. While I do that, I would like to see if you guys can come to some type of compromise, because I would hate for you to go get an approval and this end up in litigation, which it seems like it already could either way. So I'm trying to save you both some money. It might come to nothing, but give me one last-hearted effort. I would appreciate it.
I'm just gonna say one thing. Mr. Atkins came down to look at the property.
Yeah.
He walked the property, and in the last meeting that we had, he actually said to the Van Dams, this is his property, it's his views. He can do he can do what he wants with it. And he expressed what happened with his property. He had a beautiful view in Howe's Neck.
Yep.
He went from Raccoon Island to Paddocks Island to Boston, and he lost that. So,
He
and
tells
it's
us all the
all
time.
about the view, and I don't blame him. I understand what he's fighting for, but he has to understand it's my property also.
Sure.
And I wanted to be fair with him before. I had the property originally up further, and then I decided I want to be a good neighbor. I moved the house back. Then I had the conflict we had the discussion. You wanted me to move the house 10.
All right, we're not getting into this. You guys can have that conversation if you want.
I just want to express one more
We appreciate it. I think I've heard it. Like,
Okay.
I just want to look at it myself.
Okay.
I know Chairman Akins looked at it. He's not here tonight, unfortunately. He had another thing to be at. I'd just like to go down and just look at it myself, just from my own point of view.
Yeah, that would be great, and I think the applicant misunderstands what Mr. Akins had told him. He doesn't have the right to do anything he wants with the property when he's asking for relief. And by the way, the development of the Van Dams home, and the home on the other side of the Van Dams home wasn't done the same way. It's not a setback. There was no setback variance
was a
provided for the
new lot,
It was
right?
actually it was a roadway that came in and provided access to those homes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to the first application, which was 139, we were asking for a compromise of that, from that. And again, all I was saying is, set them back so they're almost equally, so each one of them has the same views.
I can appreciate what you're saying. I get it. If you could do me some type of favor with just surveying real quick, if you could just try and put some type of stake in there so I could just arguably see where exactly 145 is, I would appreciate it, if it's not already there.
Setback. Don't look specifically at the immediate butter.
Correct.
Look at the average setback to the water, and it is in compliance. It is not grossly different. It was just coincidental that the setback that we found when 20 and 22 was created was 145.
Yeah, I get it. Anybody have anything
Thank
else
you.
to add? Anything else you want to see?
I would like to ask
Can you leave the stakes until the next meeting, okay? Don't put them in and take them out, all right? Just leave them there until the next time we sit down.
Yeah, in
Okay, and that
case
way-
somebody else goes by.
Yeah, that way in case,
Yeah.
when I get down there, I don't know if I'll go the same day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be here for the 14th
Right.
of January, so it has to be January 28th. So if you guys good with January 28th?
Can I ask Counselor 2 questions? I want to hear your argument in opposition to the fact that there's no view easement in Quincy.
Right.
And number two, that there's precedent for the 145-foot setback.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the precedent comes from, because again, the houses that he's measuring are the Van Dam's house and the house next to the Van Dam's house, and that did not have setbacks of 145 feet. There was a new roadway that was created for that. I did that development years ago for Steve Germain. I don't know if you remember Steve Germain, who used to own the property. He was a Germantown person. So those setbacks don't apply there. I just, and again, all we're asking for is, and I understand this, there's no right to views. I spoke with my client about that. It's also about privacy. It's also about privacy, being the house being right on top of them. And all we were asking is to set back a little bit from the front of the Van Dam's property. Set it back just a few feet even from the front of the Van Dam's property, so they at least maintain a little bit of that privacy which they have in that front room. That's their living area. That's where they sit out on their deck to maintain that privacy. And it would still maintain the views for the applicant. That's all.
Like the chair tonight said, I hope that the parties can meet and try to find some happy medium ground to avoid litigation.
We'll continue to talk.
You know how long that's going to take.
Yeah, and I could show you the email that my client sent and how it was responded to. It's going to be difficult.
Okay.
But
Well,
we'll
thank you.
certainly try.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Can I say one more thing?
Believe me, I get it. I understand. I understand where you're coming from. So just, I get if you can't work it out. I was trying to avoid you guys both some costly litigation. It doesn't sound like that'll happen, but I hope it does. Yeah, can you make a motion to move this to the 28th?
ZBA case 2481, Manuel Paiva for variance to construct a single-family dwelling with attached two-car garage upon completion, demolishing the existing single-family dwelling on the premises number 10 St. Germain Street, Quincy. Hereby move that the matter be continued to January 28, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
All those in favor, aye? Opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye.